Welcome to the meeting of the State of Hawaii Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity. I am the chair, Sharon Hurd. Prior to calling the meeting to order, Jason will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person.
As an attendee, your microphone will be automatically muted during the meeting, unless you are providing testimony. For each agenda item you wish to testify on, please click the Raise Hand button found on your Zoom screen. Board staff will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking in order to prevent audio feedback. When testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If you are dialing in by phone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. Thank you.
Testifiers are reminded that there is a 2-minute limit of testimony per agenda item. If there is anyone testifying in the room, please be sure to come up to the mic and identify yourself before you begin. Calling the meeting to order at 9:03 in the morning. Taking a roll call vote. I will take a roll call vote of the members present. When your name is called, please indicate your presence with a here or present and state who, if anyone over the age of 18, is in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or recusals. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as this initial roll call. Beginning with Dave Smith, DLNR.
Here.
Dr. Parwinder Gurwal, Dean of C.F.R.
Present and alone.
Thank you, Dean. Mark Takimoto, Tibet, ex officio.
Present.
Mark. Diane Lay, Hawaii County member.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Nathaniel Oswald, Maui County member.
Present, alone.
Currently, the Kauai member seat is vacant. Dr. Jason Moniz, member at large, is excused.
Present, alone.
Sorry. And the member that's excused is in fact Enya. No.
I'm here as well, present and alone.
Good to see you, Ann.
Happy New Year.
Happy. James Gomes, member at large.
Aloha kakayaka, home alone.
Thank you. And Sharon Hurd, present. We have a quorum. Thank you. So first order of business is approval of minutes from December 23rd, 2025 meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
This is Diane. I'll make a motion to approve. I have several corrections up.
Okay, thank you, Diane. And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Parwinder. Okay. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
I have a hand raise. Corey, if you can please state your name and organization. Not sure if it's in reference to that, but it was raised from before, so it might be missed.
Corey, do you have a comment on the minutes?
I have testimony on item B1.
Okay, appreciate that. When item B1 is called to the floor, if you would then raise your hand. Right now, we're calling for approval of the minutes. Okay, any other public testimony? No, thank you. Board discussion. And recognizing Jimmy Gomes.
On item number 24. See, member Gomes agreed with Jason, added that Michael's point really relates to not car, but cows. Average age of 6 years, and again, we get cows again.
Okay, Jimmy, what page is that on the minutes?
Page 4, number 24, line 24.
Line 24, okay. I guess.
Yeah, we're talking about Carl's, not Carl's Burgers.
Carl could be though, huh? Okay.
Okay,
so
and then you
corrected.
got, besides that, there's where you got the second sentence affecting the longevity and number of times cow, and get tabs. It's not tabs, it's calves over time. Calves,
Yeah.
young calves.
Calves, got it. So good. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. Dan, were those your corrections as well?
Yes, thank you, Jimmy.
Any other board discussion? No. Okay. With those amendments, it looks like I might have to take a voice vote.
No, as long as it's unanimous.
Okay,
So we're voting on, because she had mentioned she would have changes.
okay, all right.
Voting as amended.
So calling a vote on the minutes, are there any objections or recusals?
Oh, wait, and he still has to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, sorry, we missed you.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain, Chair, since I missed.
Okay,
Now you have to take.
now I have to take a look. All right, calling for the vote, if there are any abstentions or recusals by name. So Sharon Hurd, yes, approved. Dave Smith. Abstain. Dr. Grewal,
Yes.
yes. Mark Takimoto,
Yes.
Diane Lay.
Yes,
Oh, okay. Nate Oswald,
Yes.
thank you, Nate, and Dr. Jason Moniz.
Yes.
And Young has abstained. And James Gomes,
Yes.
okay, so we have passed the minutes as amended. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 4A1, Agricultural Resource Management Division. Is there someone here to make a presentation? Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I didn't. May I hold on? He has to do the presentation first.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, that is the clean. No, Kevin,
still.
please. Sorry, I thought I had to ask for a motion.
Okay.
Oh. Never mind. I thought, well, it's not legally required, which I think you mentioned. Wait, I think that's one of the things, and then he, yeah, you make the motion.
Please be seated, Mr. Kidno will stay. Yeah, but got one part of this, and may I have a motion board to approve the request?
so moved, Diane.
And that would be Diane. And
Second,
may I-
Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy. So presentation by staff.
Okay. Good morning, Chair, Board members. Kevin Moore with Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, Agricultural Resource Management Division. This item requests the cancellation of a lease here on Oahu in Waimanalo. It's about 1.4 acres. It was issued on May 1st, 2014 for 35 years and would normally expire in April of 2049. This lease has a long history of defaults. It has been to the board with a staff recommendation to terminate at least 4 times in recent history, 2019, 2020, 2022, and 2023. Each time it was deferred by the board. The defaults relate to everything from rent to insurance. There's a current rent default of 134,000+. Real property tax delinquency of over 4,000. And the lessee has not developed the property fully and has not posted liability insurance. I first kind of was looking at this lease in September when I noticed how big the rent default is. It's the highest in our receivables, and so I wanted to take action on it. I wrote an email to the lessee just to introduce myself as the new agricultural land program manager. And wanted to set up an inspection of the property and talk about these issues. No response to the email. I sent him a letter about 5 days later, kind of repeating the same thing, you know, would like to inspect the property and so forth. No response to that letter. Other staff in my office have also emailed him and tried to reach him by telephone, and that was unsuccessful. So we finally issued a notice of default on November 3rd for all of these delinquencies that I mentioned. There was no response and no cure. And so we come to the board today to seek the cancellation of the lease with a couple of other items. One is there was a rent reopening on May 1, 2024 that was not implemented because I think staff at the time was thinking it would come back to the board to seek termination of the lease. So he was continuing to be billed at his original lease rent, and the reopening brought his rent down quite a bit from 12,340 to 4,860 per year. And so I think it's only fair to, you know, implement the rent that would have been charged if the reopening had been fully processed in May 2024. And so the notice of default we issued factors in that reduced rent. We're asking the board to approve it after the fact. And then cancel the lease, issue the lease cancellation document, and authorize us to put the property back out for, you know, productive agricultural use. And so the staff recommendation, I'll just read this part, that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, 1, accept after the fact the annual lease rent amount for general lease number S3109 as determined by independent appraisal for the May 1, 2024 rent reopening, and the amount of 4,860 per year through the cancellation date of the lease. Number 2, approve the cancellation of general lease number S3109 pursuant to section 4158-2, subparagraph A8, Hawaii administrative rules, and terminate all right, title, and interest granted to the lessee therein, effective as of the date of approval of this submittal. Number 3, authorize issuance of a lease cancellation document to be executed by the chairperson and recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances, or authorize staff to prepare tax map key 141-1848 for disposition to the public pursuant to such chapters 4158-24 and 29 Hawaii administrative rules, and 5, approve the request to refer general lease number S319 as a delinquent account to the Department of the Attorney General for review and disposition in accordance with section 40-82 Hawaii revised statutes. All related documents are subject to approval as performed by the Department of the Attorney General, and such other terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the chairperson to best serve the interests of the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Yes, we have a hand.
I just want to remind everybody giving testimony, if you raise your hands, this is for item 4A1, which is relating to this lease in Waimanalo. It is not for part 2 relating to the plant quarantine's submission. And if anybody keeps raising their hand during each one, we'll have to by law call upon you and have you tell us if you are not here for this. It will take longer for us to get to that item. Just want to let everybody know. And we're gonna call upon you now if your hand's up. But if you're not here for this one, we'll still have to go through all 55 of you, and it will make the meeting take longer before we can reach the item for the plant quarantine submission. That's all. Thank you. Because I mean, if they say they're here for that, we cannot take it. Okay.
So we'll start with Julie Coleman. Please state your name and organization.
Jude,
This is Milton Coleman, the leasee.
Okay.
I just wanted to say requesting a humble deferment. If you could read my submittal, it was kind of late. I've been overseas. I currently am overseas in an area where my Gmail has been compromised. So I didn't receive communications for quite some time. I didn't know that what's her name? Linda and Roy were no longer there, and I wasn't aware of any of the renewed what is this called, the 2024 rental reassessment or so forth. I just want to say that as I've indicated in my submittal, that the property has been developed and is being farmed. We currently have uala, ulu, mostly native trees, mai'a, coconut. We have cacao, moringa growing, laupele, uhaloa. Basically everything we had indicated we were going to do in our original plan of utilization and development. As of late, we've had actually 6 deaths in our family, so it's been a difficult time. One of my sons has been and his friends have been going to the farm to harvest and take care. We use natural farming, Korean natural farming. Yeah, so my son Pauhonu has been also the kind of the key person to undertake this. I've been overseas due to health reasons, and we just need at least 3 more months to get the ship righted. I really owe it to my kids who have done all the farming there, and it's really something that I hope they can take over from me, and I hope to transfer the lease to them so that they can do right by the land. The place has been nothing but real good things have come out of this place, and I would want to just share one story that I told my son about, because I just heard about this. I fortunately was able to submit something early this morning and then jump on here, and I'm glad you guys recognized my hand being raised, because I wasn't sure if this thing was working. But this story I hope doesn't take too long, but I just want to say that there is something incredible that happened at this farm, that if we were to lose it, just this one thing, which was saving a person's life who was trying to commit suicide. He had parked in front of the lot in the middle of the night, and I was driving with my family heading towards the homestead, and something in me told me, go and check the aina. So we went, and I saw a vehicle parked there, and it was weird. We didn't know what they were doing. And I came to find out and see that the person had tied and taped the hose, garden hose, to their car and inserted in the window. And I realized he was trying to take his own life. And all my children were there. We witnessed, we stepped out, I intervened, I pleaded with the man. And he decided after several minutes prayer and pleading to not do what he was going to do. And I told my son, even for just that reason alone, if we were to lose this aina that we've worked so hard on, it was for that purpose. A person's life was spared, trying to take their own life right in front of our farm.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
But
Cohen. Your testimony is
I
very
just-
compelling, but does it have anything? Could you refer to the lease and the other reasons why the recommendations by the staff should be put aside?
There's been a long history. I don't recall that it was 4 times. I believe it was 2 or 3 throughout the years. It was a very difficult, pretentious encounter with Linda, and I have all the papers and emails that I've retrieved just this morning, looking at everything, back on everything. It wasn't a good relationship really from the get-go, and I think they painted a false picture. And even currently, you can go to the farm and harvest right now. There's an abundance of all those things that are growing there. We planted. The breadfruit is thriving. It's going on its 2nd year of harvest. And we just also submitted our plan of utilization and development. It was no one responded to it. Nobody approved the repayment plans that I submitted. They kept trying to force those repayment plans. And if you look at them, which I sent to you guys, you see that they were very unfair. It was setting us up for failure, into the point where they were superseding the board and saying by signing this contract, they don't have to go to the board to cancel the lease. And that's how I felt along. And Linda herself told me she's going to get me out of there. So it wasn't a very good encounter. And I
Mr.
was
Coleman,
really,
Mr.
it's
Coleman.
in the email I sent the testimonial with more details. I'm set on like 3 months to be able to fix all of these things. I've been away. I'm still overseas. My son Paul Honu is the point person. He's very active in the community, and we're just trying to make sure that all the work that we put in goes to naught. We got messed up during COVID, and Linda told me that if I made such and such payments, I have it in writing that they would stop the tax. I mean the interest, the penalties. It never stopped. I kept up my end, and you can look in the records of payments, but she didn't keep up her side. I didn't even get a response about what, and I even drafted a repayment plan. I have it all on record, all of these communications with her and with Roy. And it was just like they're outright to get us out. They came to the farm, they said, oh yeah, looks good, looks good. And then they reported that there's nothing growing, nothing developed. I don't think they're more of realtors than farmers. They don't even know plant identification. So there's still abundance. The farm is thriving using natural farming. We've created our own amendments. I like to get a last chance to help finance whatever we can to pull us out of this hole that we're in. We paid up all the taxes. It kind of just kept snowballing back again. I chopped down that debt by quite a bit, and it still kept growing back up because of that interest. And what Linda said didn't happen. She said, oh yeah, if you make those payments, we'll stop the interest, because that's what was drowning us. So if you looked at the whole time that we've been paying and all of these things, we made strong efforts. I made balloon payments. It was very like coercion. If you look at
Mr. Coleman,
look at the repayment plans they sent to me,
I'm gonna
you'll
ask you to,
clearly
I'm gonna
see.
ask you to conclude, okay?
I'll conclude by just saying, if you could just give us at least 3 months to try to fix everything, get it in order. And I apologize because I'm overseas, but I should be back in maybe 2 months, and I got some good backing, some financial backing to help us and to hopefully transfer the lease to my son, who is a bona fide farmer and able to take on the kuleana, the responsibilities that come with all of it.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Speedy recovery. Glad you were able to get on the call. Asking for additional public testimony?
Yes, there's one more. Tara, if you could please state your name and organization.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. After hearing that, would like to say that please support this mahi'ai, this generational ohana who wants to pass down this kuleana. We have to do everything we can for food security. And I know you as a board have to follow your bylaws, of this fake state. But mind you, not everything is in the decolonized mindset, profit, regarding money. You heard him say that it was interest, that's drowning him. And just to hear that, give him 3 months and then he has the backing and he wants to pass it down. You really have to take that into consideration. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I just know that if you're in this seat on this board, you are the board. You are the department. You all make the decisions. You also heard that the pilina, the relationship he had with the other person on the board was not favorable. And yes, painted or false pictures can be painted. So when I read the agenda, You only can get so much from the agenda. You really have to hear the person and read their, or hear their heart, their intent, and through action. So you cannot just do board business as usual for the items, and I want to comment on the other items too as they come up before the CRB and regarding Molokai. But yeah, so I don't know if I don't know if that timing how much I have left, but I just want to say I hear him, and I hope you all too. And then you don't let your hearts be jaded and your mindset be jaded with a colonized mindset that the fake state laws require you to follow. Food security is really important. Generational kuleana is really important. And for me, people, especially, people in Kanaka triumph over any profit and fake state laws and rules. So please consider this as you do your discussion, and then you remember his words as you're discussing it. Mahalo.
Thank you, Tara. Any other public testimony?
Yeah, there's two more. Well, Ida, you can state your organization and your name, please.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, how's it, everybody? My name is Kevin Chang. I'm the executive director of an organization called Kua Aina Ulu Aomo. We work with communities statewide, building networks around Malama Aina, which includes the use of agroecological principles and traditional cultural practice. I'm actually here for a different issue. I didn't realize that this issue that Junior Coleman's family is working on was here. I don't know all the information behind what has happened, what it sounds like. An extension that he asked for is a worthy thing. I know Junior more through my music, ironically, and his son, who serves as a leader on our youth council as well as our network council. His son Pohono, who he actually mentioned. So I just want to I didn't expect this to come up, but I just want to say I think it's worthy of hearing him out, or you just heard him out, but giving him that extension. Mahalo.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other public? Oh, yeah, we have one more.
Lukio Kalani, you can state your name and organization.
Aloha nui, Chair. This is Kuike calling in. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Board. Aloha, members of the board, and mahalo for the opportunity to testify on agenda item A1. I really just want to jump in here and give my strong support and humble ask for deferment. You heard all of the reasons why the leasee. In one of my roles, I'm also the president of Cho Global Natural Farming, which is the certifying organization for Korean natural farming here in Hawaii and abroad. So they have been practicing Korean natural farming, and I just want to say my investment in, this agenda item is my side-by-side participation over the course of the last 10 years in planting food there and trying our very best as a community and as Ohana to support the Comans. One, in trying to right the ship, as Junior mentioned. Two, as to increase, food and cultural resource production there on the Aina. So again, I mahalo you folks for the opportunity to testify on this agenda item. Chair, Happy New Year again. And if there's any questions, I'll stand by. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuike. Any other public testimony? No. So any board discussion? We have Jimmy.
Yes, listening to all the testimony, I sympathize, but Kevin, when was the last payment that you have and what was the amount? I mean, they're in arrears, but have they been paying in accordance just lately that they went in default?
No, Board Member Gomes, they have a long-standing delinquency in rent. I want to say the most recent payment was after the September 2023 board meeting. I think they made a payment in 2024. Okay, June 2023 would be the most recent payment according to my staff. So we haven't seen
That recent payment, was it in accordance to just not for them to come current, but they were trying to pay? Because apparently they hadn't come current, or is this after the 23, this is what it's all added up to?
Yeah, so what I just heard from my staff is June 2023 was the last partial payment against rent. That was before the matter was taken to the board in September 2023 with the termination recommendation. And so no payments after September 2023, and it has just kept growing from then to the 136,000 we have today.
So Kevin, there's also the fact that there's a neighbor, an adjacent neighbor, that says he observes individuals on the property that might be squatters. Is there any truth to that on that property?
So yeah, we did get that report from the neighbor. We contacted the lessee to try to set up an inspection of his premises, but we did not have any contact and were not able to do an inspection. So I have driven by the property. But that's the closest I've been to it. The most recent inspection was in 2024. I think our staff at that time said it was 25% developed.
Okay, my last question, sorry gang, but Mr. Coleman referred to that he has a strong backing, financial backing. Has any of that backing been written out when his testimony or his rebuttal back to the department? He said he just sent one in late. Did he mention any of his strong backing contact names or who would help him to financially right the ship back up again?
I don't think so. I scanned his testimony on my phone just a few minutes before the meeting started. I did not see details on financial wherewithal.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Going on, Ed.
Thank you, Chair. I'm reaching deep on this one because this was a while ago. I think, there are kind of several issues that were tied up in the last time that this came up. One was just, that when people are trying to implement like a more of a permaculture model, it just doesn't look like row crops. It doesn't look like I guess what we think of as conventional agriculture. And so I recall having a discussion with the staff about that, in terms of people who want to explore new models on agricultural land, and what does that look like, and how do we, move forward with people who are doing kind of alternative processes. Yeah. So I don't know what the current staff kind of thinks about that, but I think that's something to think about. I certainly sympathize with Mr. Coleman's situation. Right now, it sounds like his intent is to, have his family or relatives steward the property moving forward, and certainly also does not seem like he's able to do that now with his situation. So, would we entertain reassigning the lease now, and then kind of separating out the forward moving, or I guess forward care of the property from the delinquency issue? Because right now those two are intertwined. Where I do kind of feel like, if we do want to get stewardship into somebody else's hands that's actually present. And again, no offense to Mr. Coleman, the lease assignment process, if he cannot continue to care for the Aina in the way that you want to, is I feel probably the way to go. That being said, it's a significant delinquency. I guess it's number one on the books, right? So, I guess, part of it is well, I mean, I guess staff does have a recommendation that you guys are coming to us with now. Given today's testimony, you know, is it a staff recommendation to take another look at this? I do think there are ways um, of moving forward. Okay, well, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but um, you know, uh, I don't want to keep deferring this, and because it's been a number of times, and we cannot allow these kind of delinquencies to accrue, not necessarily because of this situation, but because it's unfair to the rest of the lessees. Yeah. So if there is a way we can separate out the delinquency itself from the care of the INA, and there are people that are here that want to do that, then that's kind of the way I'd like to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Member Ann, do you have a question for Kevin? Ann?
Oh, I guess just given this morning's testimony, like what's the plan? I do think there needs to be, like a red line. Like if Mr. Coleman continues to be unresponsive, then I feel like there's just nothing, there is no negotiation, with an unresponsive party. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other board discussion? No, there's Diane. Go ahead, Diane.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, all the points are well taken. I appreciate Mr. Coleman coming again before the board. This is a difficult issue. I do want to recognize the, alternative production systems, if you will, to the model that the department's leases were originally set up for. That can be challenging, but that is policy. So, the board is required to work within the policy. So I'm willing to amend my motion to have staff work with Mr. Coleman over the next several months and come back to the board no later than May meeting, May 26th. I recommend that staff review both communications from the lessee as well as the department, gain a site visit. If needed, take along with you one of the resource folks from C.F.R. that is knowledgeable of the types of practices that Mr. Coleman and his family are proceeding with. And yes, come back to the board with a recommendation, and as Member Young suggested, possibly separating out the two matters, the delinquencies from the possibility of reassigning the lease.
Diane, I'm going to ask Kevin for clarification. Kevin, is it possible to separate a delinquency from a lease? Because as I recall, in order to reassign a lease, you have to clear the delinquencies. Could you clarify?
Yeah, so our general practice would be to require the lessee to be in full compliance before recommending an assignment.
So Diane, if you want to restate your motion.
Okay, so then I guess I have a question. So if to come into full compliance, if the lessee is not able to come into full compliance, then the property, the next step would be for the board to take action to cancel the lease, and it would go out for public auction or negotiation, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, then that's the process we need to follow. So, so come back no later than May if the department's been able to resolve the issues with the lease and have a payment plan. That's fine. I mean, I'd be supportive of that, but if not,
Okay, let me ask Jen a question. Is this a deferment?
Me?
Yeah.
Why not me? If you want to defer, you can defer.
Because
If you
I
want to take a vote,
we can
take a
change
vote,
that, but I
sure.
can.
We
so
can,
change it.
well, we can. Yeah, we could, right now, we haven't taken any action,
Okay.
so you can still. You can't change recommendation, but you could take because your vote was to approve, so then you would. Withdraw your motion and you can make a motion to do what she wanted, to instruct them to do that, or you could just defer and you could just, without a vote, you could defer this item to the main agenda.
Okay, I do see a hand up, Dr. Manise, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if ARM could possibly show us within, I don't know how much time it would take them, but to show us the 134,000 in arrears, how much of that is lease rental that hasn't been paid versus penalties, interest, that sort of thing. So,
We
thank you.
could get that information to the board pretty quickly.
Thanks.
Okay, so.
But it's in the, it's in the smell, the amount that is in arrears. It's like 134,000 rent and real tax balance in arrears for rent.
I think he's asking for interest. Interest on top of rent.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I was just noting in the submittal, it's in arrears, $138,000.
Yeah.
And it has been deferred 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
So taking all that into consideration and the request from the lessee as well as the questions from the board, I believe we can, I don't know if the right word is defer, but we can ask Mr. Coleman to come back next month or his representative to come back next month, present to us the plan that he has, present to us his plan to become whole, making up all of his past due rents. And we will come back on the ARM side with a detailed billing. This much for tax, this much in arrears, and interest. The gentleman, Mr. Coleman, did bring up interest. And then if we have that submittal in a month, I don't know if it's called a continuation. It's deferred to next month's meeting, which would be in February. And with that information, maybe we'd be better prepared to take Diane's recommendation to have a C.T.R. agent, accompany Mr. Coleman and look at his plan currently, and Kuike can come with his natural farming. I mean, we want to be as sympathetic, it's not the right word, for Mr. Coleman's plan, but we'd like it to be in a month. As there are leaseholders waiting for this property as well, on the list of people would like a piece of property in Waimanalo. So if that's amenable to the board, we'll simply defer to next month with a request for Mr. Coleman to come, or his designate, to come and present the plan that he has, the backers that he has, to bring his particular delinquency up current. And any, the designate can bring other people with him or her to make a case to the board, and we can reconsider at that time. Is that something that, do I have to take a vote on it? Oh, Diane, go ahead.
Chair, I'd like to withdraw my motion, and I agree with the direction you're headed. That sounds appropriate.
Okay, so
Thank
we will defer and based on the plan for Mr. Coleman or his designate to appear at that next meeting with his recommendations for consideration. And we will come back as well with our list of how we came up with the 134. Okay? I guess that's decided. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Take item 4A2. Request for amendment of prior board action of October 28, 2025. Item 4B4 approved as amended, as that action relates to the modification of general lease number S-3138, Hawai Land and Livestock LLC lessee. The purpose of the requested amendment is to include one additional lease modification, which is to delete the lease clause allowing the lessor to withdraw the lease premises or portion thereof, or leasing to renewable energy producers and or for the creation of photovoltaic projects. Honolulu, Oahu, Hawaii TMK 19-1031001. Do we have a presentation by? No. Getting confused. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Jimmy.
Jimmy, thank you. And a second.
Second, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. And presentation by Steph.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Dan Kevin Moore with Agricultural Resource Management Division. This particular lease and property has been before the board quite a few times in the past 6 or 8 months. This relates to the what used to be called the Eva feedlot at Campbell Industrial Park. And the board most recently approved the removal of about 100 acres from a 110-acre parcel to go back to DLNR to be used for a renewable energy project. Around after the board approved that in November, the lessee approached the department and asked whether its lease could be amended to remove the provision relating to withdrawal of lands for renewable energy projects, because obviously after taking 110 acres, there would not be much left for renewable energy projects on a 10-acre parcel. And so we thought that was reasonable. We approached the Department of Land Natural Resources because that withdrawal language, that reservation is also in the executive order that transferred the land to DAB. And so we had to make sure that the language came out of the executive order. And so DLNR at its January 9 meeting approved the amendment of the executive order to delete the renewable energy withdrawal language. And so we're just coming back to get the board's approval to likewise amend the lease to take out the renewable energy language withdrawal. And so the recommendation is that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity amend its prior action of October 28, 2025 under agenda item 4B4, approved as amended by modifying recommendation 2 of the prior board action to read as follows: deletions indicated by bracketed strike through and new language indicated by underscoring. So number 2, approve the modification of general lease number S3138 Hawaii Land and Livestock LLC lessee to reflect a reduction in area from 110.106 to 9.385 acres, a reduction of the annual rent payable under the lease from 18,300 to 1,600 until the first rental reopening under the lease scheduled for January 1, 2030. Correction of the lease expiration date to December 31, 2054, and deletion of the following clause from paragraph 4, withdrawal on page 8 of the lease, quote, for leasing to renewable energy producers and or for creation of photovoltaic projects, end quote. All related documents are subject to approval as performed by the Department of the Attorney General and such other terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the chairperson to best serve the interests of the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm sorry, does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Yeah. Sarah.
Karen. Recognizing Tara.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. Okay, now it's made clear as I heard the presentation. It gives more clarity. Just as the other issue, there are many factors and issues that we got to take care of. So I want to put this for the record. So for the Lahui that you can really watch this. I have an issue because this is my ahupua'a, Honouliuli. I just heard that last line that best serves the interests of the state. I heard now why it went from 100 or so acres to now 9 acres. And I just heard for renewable energy purposes versus livestock food resource. And another issue is regarding, let's see, renewable energy, the food. From changing of land from executive order to change it, the DLNR, that they decided they want to go to this renewable energy, thus change it from 100 to 9, rounded off, right? Now here's the thing. If the other issue previous to this one was just regarding monies collected, now mind you, I don't even know the family, and I'm glad I heard the other testifiers speak up, that they know them. I just heard that there are other people waiting to use that land too, but mind you, are the other people going to use the land? Are they going to implement Korean natural farming, which is the best way to do agriculture, which I recommend that you all actually you guys look into doing Korean natural farming for everything, 0 chemicals, okay? But going back to this issue, I have an issue with that. DLNR saying by executive order, okay, let's cut it from 100 to 9 acres because of renewable energy goal. That's an issue. So I know if Kanaka heard about this, in addition to leases being moved from here to there, from this person to that person, and then your guys' goals is collecting 100,000, which that is not a lot.
Excuse me, Mrs. Rojas, can you speak a little louder? I'm having a hard time to hear you. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
Okay, and then, can you hear me better now?
Great.
Okay, so then also about the monies. 100,000 is not a lot. And you look at this lease rent about this one and the other issue I'm going to talk about, 18,000 a year to 1,000 because of the 100 acres to 9 acres. That's even not a lot. Not even for this person's particular, but even the other issue, the other items coming up. If that's even what you're just going to collect, and again, I'm against even this, if it's Kanaka and if it's for food and it's for the island, the people of the island, I don't know, you're making me like, now I gotta go research all your past minutes and past board meetings and past boards in itself. You know how much other things we gotta keep up on in addition to this one agency of the fake state of Hawaii? In addition to agricultural food, and then biosecurity, and we know like executive orders, and then the governors that they can do this, and then the change in the ruling. That's a lot. So there's a lot of issues going on here. So again, this is my Honouliuli. So yeah, I'm going to summarize. This is my Honouliuli. This is my area, Ahupua'a, Kalamai. My Ahupua'a, you're going to go for energy renewable resource for the benefit of the state over, and mind you, I don't even know who this Lansoc, but Lansoc, and I see that it's food and monies. So I'm glad it's going to be lower, but then 100 to 9 acres, I don't know. There's a lot of things going on that I just want to put on the record for the Lahui to really look into, and then that you all also adopt the decolonized mindset. And I really appreciate the board members who did speak up on the other issue, and then permaculture yourself, Chair, about permaculture and Korean natural farming. And yeah, there's going to be a conflict of land for food or land for renewable resources, and then the monies that's involved there, and then also the leeway also given to industries or companies, and there's a lot going on here. So I just want to give my 2 cents. Mahalo.
Thank you, Tara. Any other public testimony? No, okay, board discussion. Hearing, seeing none, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear, they are gonna split off the 9 acres.
It's already split it up.
Right?
It's already happened. It's already happened.
Oh, they split it off, and so this is just putting on some kind of stipulation that that property will not be eligible for renewable energy, is that right?
Yeah, so when DLR transferred the 110 acres
Yeah.
to DOA originally, it said, but we can withdraw land for renewable energy projects, which they later did, and this board approved of that. But the thinking now is with only 9.3 acres left, that we don't need that reservation anymore because DLNR, there's nothing left for DLNR to withdraw. The lessee needs that remaining 9 acres for the slaughterhouse operations.
So it was retained already, or it's being proposed to be retained?
So let's see what I understand. We got this property, it was large, it had a withdrawal portion for renewable energy purposes. DLNR practiced that by taking off 100,000 and then leaving the 9 acres.
Okay.
And then this lessee requested that we remove that right of withdrawal for those purposes because DLNR had already done it. So we're doing that, we're withdrawing the right for DLNR to take any more property so he can feel assured this is his property and the lessee has asked us to do that. And so that's why we're doing it. That's what it says in the incident. Just want to confirm. Because there seems to be confusion that we're trying to hurt the lessee. And I think this was the lessee's request.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the lessee's request to remove the 9.385 acres.
No, his request to withdraw the right for them to do it. I think DLNR retained that right. So they practiced it and we don't have any control over DLNR.
Right, but
This
over
board.
the 9.38
Yeah.
acres.
Oh, we have control over 9.3.
Right.
Wait. They took back, yeah, so they took some amount that ended up with him getting 9.3.
Yes.
So they took a pretty large chunk of his property.
Got 100 acres.
Well,
I'm just curious, so there's the 100 acres, there's the 9.3.
It was
there's the
originally,
Land Livestock LLC.
it was originally 100 acres. It is now 9.3 because they took 91 or so.
And
Yeah.
so that's already been done.
Oh, can I recognize the
Is
list?
that right?
Oh, Leslie's here. Leslie's here.
I'd be happy to comment on that. Why I'm
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just not clear.
You just have to come forward, sorry, just because we
No,
can't.
stay, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, my. He said it's.
Hi, Aaron Eddington for
Oh,
Hawaii Land and
we are
Livestock.
recognizing the lessee. Okay,
Yeah, we've been here a lot, appreciate the board support. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. Yeah, we only need the 9 acres right behind the existing beef harvest facility. We'll put pens there. It allows us to use that for overflow when shipping doesn't get cattle to us on time, so we can keep it, a little bit of extra there and ready for harvest. So this, and we did request to remove the right to have the property taken for renewable energy project because, as was stated, the other 100 acres is being used for just that. So we wanted security to invest in the 10 acres. There are 9.3 acres remaining.
But has the other 100 been removed already?
We will, when this is done and the lease is amended, then we will have given that up back to the deal. It's all been approved, but the lease hasn't been executed.
Okay, it's been approved by the Department of Ag.
Department of Ag, yeah, this board and the DLNR have also approved.
So DLNR would retain the right over the 100 acres and would give up the right over the 9.3.
Correct.
And that would be added to the existing Hawaii Land Livestock LLC piece, generally it's S 8500.
Correct. They're adjacent.
Yeah. Okay.
thank you, Aaron.
Thanks very much.
Recognizing Jason Moniz.
Yeah, question for Arm, I guess. The way the language is being written, this doesn't prohibit the lessee from doing their own renewable energy project for their own energy purposes, does it?
No, it would not. So that we have other lessees who approach us with requests to build PV systems on their property for their own purposes. So no, that would not be impaired.
Okay, and my other question was, does the EO require that they go back to Department of Land and Natural Resources for that permission to do a renewable energy project?
No, not if it's in support of the lease purpose and the the EO purpose, which would be agricultural use.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Seeing no additional board discussion, I am calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none, motion is approved, unanimous. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to 4A3. Request for approval to cancel general lease number S-4795, Eberlii Tropical Flowers Incorporated, lessee. Issue the cancellation of the document, and 3, dispose of the parcel to the public by negotiation. TMK 3rd Division 1-5-116-302-0032, Lot 5, Pahoa Agricultural Park, Phase 2, Keone Poko Iki, Puna, Island of Hawaii, Hawaii. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So
So
moved.
moved,
I am-
Jimmy.
And Jimmy second. Thank you, thank you. Presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm Brandy Ayo, property manager with the Arm Division on the Big Island. This lease, general lease 4779. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Didn't go ahead with myself. Sorry. This lease 4795, which is currently leased by Eberlii Tropical Flowers, Inc. Dated January 12, 1983, was awarded to Oliver Roberts and Maisie Roberts by the Board of Land and Natural Resources effective May 1st, 1982. The subject property was transferred to the Department of Agriculture, now known as the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, by Executive Order 3380 in 1988. In 1996, the Board of Agriculture, now known as the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, consented to the assignment of General Lease 4795 to Eberlii Tropical Flowers, Inc., which is owned by Donald Eberlii and Ellen Eberlii. Due to health problems, Mr. and Mrs. Eberlii were unable to actively farm the leased premises and relied on Michael Hughes and Yachi Lee, husband and wife, who have been managing the farm since 2012. The agriculture activity of cultivating heliconia, birds of paradise, tea leaves, and different varieties of ginger have slowly decreased since 2022. Michael and Yachi have communicated to the staff that they live several hours away from the subject parcel and will no longer be able to manage the property for Eberlii Tropicals. On August 6, 2025, staff completed an inspection of the premises that confirmed a continuous decline in the property's condition with no agricultural activity occurring. In addition, there are outstanding delinquencies, which include unpaid real property taxes and a past due annual lease rent balance totaling $2,888.40 as of January 8, 2026. Several certified mail letters were mailed to the lessee in attempts to cure the cited defaults and bring the property back into compliance. On June 12, 2023, a default notice for non-payment of rent was mailed to the lessee by certified mail. And the receipt shows that the lessee received the notice on July 18, 2023, but unfortunately, the default was never cured. Numerous follow-up letters demanding cure were sent. In addition to the certified letters, staff made several attempts to contact the lessee without any success. Unfortunately, all efforts to cure the said defaults have been exhausted. Staff recommends that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity approve the cancellation of General Lease 4795 pursuant to the HAR and the breach provision contained in the lease and terminate all rights, title, and interest granted to the lessee therein effective as the date of this approval of the submittal. Authorize issuance of lease cancellation documents to be executed by the chairperson and recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances. Authorize staff to prepare TMK 3-1-5116-032 for disposition to the public by negotiation pursuant to the HAR, and approve the request to refer General Lease 4795 as delinquent accounts to the Office of the Attorney General for review and disposition in accordance with the HRS. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Any comments from the public?
Yeah, Tara.
Tara?
Aloha, Tara Rojas. Okay, mindful that we gotta get to the CRB agenda item. Let's I don't know how you say that, like Makawalo, let's break down this system backwards.
Can you talk a little louder, please?
Okay, sorry, let's makawalo this system, break it down. I know we gotta get to the CRB, but let me think through this process and put this on the record. Let's break down this process backward, shall we? 14 years since the DLNR transferred this to UALDAB, and then UALDAB transferred it or allowed it, the leasee, to farm it for flowers for PUA, and which is great. Okay, so now let's think about this though. Same kind of issues as the first item with health issues, that's not being able to upkeep the land and to continue farming it. First things first, how can this process even be adjusted and even adjust HRSs in the first place from DLNR transferring these lands? The best people and the best caretakers of the land, whether to caretake or for business, purposes, would be to Kanaka first. Like, how come these lands that DLNR is supposedly holding in trust for Kanaka, first place, it was never ceded on these unceded lands that have now been divided into TMKs, in which they now quote unquote manage. And then when you think about it, just to preserve in conjunction with businesses and everything, in addition to conserving it for natural purposes, natural resources. So my issue is that main thing, because all the other items is regarding this. This is this DAB type of agenda items that we're gonna see. So how can these lands in the first place go to Kanaka and or Kama'aina that have a decolonized Pono mindset of what they want to farm and how they want to farm it, and how can the people know? My last thing is, how can the people know about, okay, we're gonna cancel this lease and we're gonna put it to public auction? I'm gonna have to research this. I don't know how it works, but mind you, now the money is gonna come into play. I saw on another agenda item, the highest bidder. How does this all work? Where can the public find out about it? Easily accessible, transparent, for clarity purposes, so that Kanaka can maybe line up if they have to go through this process first to get back their own land. Can you address that before you start board deliberations?
Thank you, Tara.
Mom.
That's a request that I hope I'm not putting Brandy in the spot, but could you give her the HRS reference either now or, at the next meeting, or give it, HRS and HAR, the process. I think also the process is on our website. Under,
It is on our website.
it's on the website. So Tara, if, it's a new website, it's dab.hawaii.gov. And you'll find that under, I think it's called Agricultural Land and Water. And then you specifically go down to leases.
I'm not specifically sure
Yeah.
exactly where, but they're both rows,
Yeah,
the programs
it's
are
on
on.
the right-hand side of the website. And the one that you might be interested in that helps me is called the frequently asked questions. And it's quite comprehensive. May not have the answer to your question, but it does give you the HAR and HRS reference to go to see the source of the information. So with that, I will ask if there's any other public testimony. No? Okay, any board discussion? Hearing, seeing none, calling for the vote. Any objections or recusals?
Is this for staff recommendation?
Oh, did we do this question already?
Did we do board discussion?
Are we approving staff recommendation?
Oh, yes, but for the motion.
We did.
Motion is staff recommendation.
The website. I was looking at the website, so I missed that you asked for both discussion. I apologize.
Yeah, I did. Dave, ready to vote? Okay, so calling for the vote, any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none, the motion is approved, unanimous. Thank you, Brandy. Moving on to item 4A4, request to rescind prior board action approving the assignment of general lease number S-4829, William Hanson and Henrietta Hanson, assignor to Jungle Miss Orchids LLC assignee, approve the cancellation of general lease number 4829, William Hanson and Henrietta Hanson, lessee. Seems like a repeat, and issue the cancellation document, and 4, dispose of the parcel to the public by negotiation. TMK, 3rd Division, 1-5-116:304. I'm sorry, 034, lot 7, Hawai Agricultural Park Phase 2, Keonekoko Iki Puna Island of Hawaii, Hawaii. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Diane.
Appreciate it, Diane. Second? Certainly. Second by Dave. From Dale, thank you. Presentation by Steph.
Okay. The Board of Agriculture, now known as the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, awarded general lease 4829 to William Hansen and Henrietta Hansen effective July 1st, 2004. 2004, William and Henrietta attempted to start their farming operation by grubbing and clearing the subject property and planting mango, avocado, Samoan coconut trees. Unfortunately, due to the Kilauea eruption in 2018, Mrs. Hansen's passing in 2021, and Mr. Hansen's unforeseen health disability, it became difficult for him to maintain the farm and its operations. As a result, the subject parcel has no agricultural activity and is now overgrown. On April 25th, 2023, BAB approved the consent of the assignment of general lease 4829 from William and Henrietta Hansen to Jungle Mist Orchids, LLC. However, the transfer was unsuccessful and a mutual cancellation of the assignment was submitted to the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. Since 2023, Mr. Hansen failed to comply with the terms of the lease and achieve the goals set forth in his plan of utilization and development. Past inspections and recent inspections of the property a recent inspection of the property conducted on September 19th, 2025, confirmed that the property is not being properly maintained nor utilized in accordance with the terms of the lease or his PUD. Numerous notice of default letters have been delivered to the lessee via email, certified mail, and regular mail in attempts to induce Mr. Hansen to cure the cited defaults and bring the property into compliance. Most recently, a notice of default for non-payment of rent and failure to implement and approve. The approved PUD was mailed to the lessee on October 1st, 2025 by certified mail. Return request requested. The return receipt shows the notice was delivered on October 14th, 2025, but the defaults were not cured. Staff made several attempts to reach out and work with the lessee to bring the property into compliance. However, all attempts were unsuccessful. In addition, staff made attempts to assist the lessee through the process of assigning the lease to an eligible bona fide farmer as an alternative option. Unfortunately, all efforts to cure the said defaults have been exhausted and all attempts in assigning the lease were unsuccessful. To date, there are no agricultural activities occurring on the property. As of January 8th, 2026, there is an outstanding balance of $724.50 for past due annual lease rents. The staff recommends that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity rescind its prior approval of the consent to assignment of general lease 4829 to Jungle Mist Orchids LLC, approve the cancellation of general lease 4829 pursuant to the HAR, and the breach provision of the lease and terminate all rights, title, interest granted to the lessee therein effective as of the date of the approval of the submittal. Authorize issuance of lease cancellation documents to be executed by the chairperson and recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances. Authorize staff to prepare TMK 3-1-5-116-034 for disposition to the public by negotiation pursuant to the HAR, and approve the request to refer general lease 4829 as delinquent accounts to the Office of Attorney General for review and disposition in accordance with the HRS. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
No.
No hands? Board discussion? Hearing, seeing none, calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you, Brandy. Moving on to item 4A5. Request for approval to cancel general lease number S-4779. William Hansen and Henrietta Hansen, lessee, issue the cancellation document and dispose of the parcel to the public by negotiation. TMK Third Division 2-2-056-055, Lot 29, Panaeva Agricultural Park, Island of Hawaii, Hawaii. May I have a motion to hear the request? Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So move, Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Second.
Second by Diane. Thank you. Presentation by Steph.
So General Lease 4779 was awarded to William Hansen and Henrietta Hansen by the Board of Agriculture, now known as the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, on December 16, 2003. William and Henrietta Hansen intended to establish a taro processing facility on the premises, however, failed to comply with the terms of their lease and achieve their goals in accordance with their approved plan of utilization and development. Past inspections and a recent inspection of the property conducted on August 7th, 2025, confirmed that it is not being properly maintained nor utilized in accordance with the terms of the lease and his respective PUD. Numerous notice of default letters have been delivered to the lessee via certified mail, email, certified mail, and regular mail in attempts to induce Mr. Hansen to cure the cited defaults and bring the property into compliance. Since 2022, staff made several attempts to reach out and work with the lessee to bring the property into compliance. However, all attempts were unsuccessful. Most recently, a notice of default for non-payment of rent and failure to implement the approved PUD was mailed to the lessee on October 2025 by certified mail. And the notice was delivered to the lessee on October 14, 2025, but the defaults were not cured. In addition, staff also made attempts to assist the lessee through the process of assigning the lease to an eligible bona fide farmer as an alternative option. Unfortunately, all efforts to cure the said defaults have been exhausted and all attempts in assigning the lease were unsuccessful. To date, there are no ag activities occurring on the premises. In addition, as of January 9th, 2026, there is an outstanding balance of $2,546.10 for past due annual lease rents. Staff recommends that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity approve the cancellation of General Lease 4779 pursuant to the HAR and the breach provision of the lease, and terminate all rights, title, and interest granted to the lessee therein effective as of the date of the approval of this submittal. Authorize issuance of the lease cancellation documents to be executed by the chairperson and recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances. Authorize staff to prepare TMK 3-2-2-056-055 for disposition to the public by negotiation pursuant to the HAR, and approve the request to refer General Lease 4779 as delinquent accounts to the Office of Attorney General for review and disposition in accordance with the HRS. Thank you.
Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Go ahead.
Seeing hands, board discussion. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Chair. Randy, in the photos, it looks like there might be someone living on the property. Is that the case? Or are those
No,
just vehicles parked there in a
They
shed?
had they had a container and they do have some abandoned vehicles. We were trying to work with the lessee to get those removed. I think there might be one or two left still on the property, but no one's living on the premises.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Diane. Continue your discussion. Seeing, hearing none. Calling for the vote. Any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none. The motion is approved unanimously. Okay, moving to item 4A6. Request for approval to cancel general lease number S-4426 John F. Garcia Jr., lessee, issue the cancellation document, and 3, dispose of the parcel to the public by negotiation. TMK 3rd Division 1-5-116-011, Lot 11, Hawai Agricultural Park, Phase 2, Keone Pokoiki, Puna, Island of Hawaii, Hawaii. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, Jimmy.
Thank you, Stan and Jimmy. Presentation by Scott.
General Lease 4426 was awarded to John Garcia Jr. by the Board of Agriculture, now known as Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, on December 15, 2020. The lessee initiated development of the premises in 2021 in accordance with his approved plan of utilization and development, which included the cultivation of various food crops such as ulu and fig trees. However, in recent years, Mr. Garcia has expressed significant financial difficulties that have impeded his ability to continue agricultural operations and maintain the property in compliance with the lease requirements. As a result, production declined and the lessee fell behind on his annual lease rent and real property tax obligation, despite the department granting a 2-year rental offset to support continued operations. Several certified letters were mailed to the lessee in attempts to cure the cited defaults and bring the property back into compliance. On April 13, 2023, a default notice for non-payment of rent, non-payment of real property taxes, and failure to post the required liability insurance was mailed to Mr. Garcia by certified mail, return receipt requested. He received it on April 18, 2023, but the defaults were not cured. Numerous follow-up letters demanding cure were sent. In addition, staff had numerous conversations with the lessee regarding the defaults and provided options to assign the lease. Unfortunately, all efforts to cure the said defaults have been exhausted, and all attempts to assign the lease were unsuccessful. To date, there is minimal to no agricultural activity occurring on the premises. Outstanding delinquencies include unpaid real property taxes and a past due annual lease rent balance owing totaling $3,799.39 as of January 8, 2026. Staff recommends that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity approve the cancellation of General Lease 4426 pursuant to the HAR and the breach provision contained in the lease and terminate all rights, title, and interest granted to the lessee therein effective as the date of the approval of this submittal. Authorize issuance of lease cancellation documents to be executed by the chairperson and recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances. Authorize staff to prepare TMK 3-1-5-116-011 for disposition to the public by negotiation pursuant to the HAR, and approve the request to refer General Lease 4426 as delinquent accounts to the Office of the Attorney General for review and disposition in accordance with the HRS. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
No hand.
No hands. Board discussion. Hey, thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy?
Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Muted. In this particular case, sorry, Mr. Garcia did say that he has some financial difficulty in paying the rent or upkeeping his responsibility. Is there, I know we're out here to protect our ag stakeholders. Is there any time frame, we give them time frame to cure their defaults, but is there any time frame that we could streamline this length of defaults that's delinquent, to act sooner rather than later?
We have, the first thing that we try to do is actively work directly with our lessees to bring them into compliance. So communication goes back and forth. We always try to get, if they tell us that it's something that they cannot do, for example, they're delinquent in their rent, they can't no longer farm, we do try and help them with getting the property assigned. So we try to work with them before canceling their lease. That's especially if they're expressing interest in continuing the farming operation that they have or want to have.
But in this particular case, Mr. Garcia, as you observed, the property was just declining, as years going by. So I'm just thinking, should we have acted sooner to do what we're doing now?
As far as the agricultural decline, I've only seen the decline in the last year.
Okay.
So he had some financial issues, which he was working. He was also working with the conservation program and so forth. So there was some movement. There was some positive movement in the right direction. And then this last year, he started to struggle again. And then when I seen that the agricultural activity declined even further, that's when we decided, in communication with him as well, that we need to cancel the lease.
Thank you, Brandy.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
Any more discussion? I would like to make a comment that James Gomez's request to streamline has been considered before, and one of the options for streamlining that has been brought up even at the legislative session is just to follow the rules that are in place, follow HAR, follow HRS, which in that case would streamline the process, but it would take the human, kind of like the negotiation process out. It wouldn't give us time to discuss and meet and go through and, do the process that we're talking about right now. But there is a streamlined process for almost everything and for every department. And it's basically cut and dry. You don't do this, we do that. And that has not been the way that business has been conducted for leases. And we prefer not to, as streamlining it takes away the discussion. Right? But if you want to see what the streamlining is, then that is also in our GRS. And it is pretty cut.
Well, Chair, in this particular case, Brandy has offered more information than we know that was submitted to us. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, no further discussion, calling for the vote. Any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. So that concludes section A. Moving on to section B.
Oh, we don't have the approval to extend authorization.
What did I forget?
Waimea irrigation system.
I thought we was. Sorry, my mistake. Thank you.
You got
Brian.
number 7.
I got it, Jimmy. I got it. Okay. Moving on to number 7.
You like adjourn?
I want to get to the next one, okay? So, 4A7, request for approval to extend authorization of temporary access to the Waimea irrigation system to preserve animal life and settling of a delivery rate. Waimea Island, Hawaii. Do I have a motion to approve the request?
So move, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy. Second by Diane, thank you. Presentation by Steph.
Okay, I got the hint. Make it fast. Good to see you again, Jason. Haven't seen you in a bit. You look the same as you did when you retired. So right on, man. Keep on trucking. I'm gonna keep it quick. I'm gonna summarize for y'all. We came to hear the board on August 26th last year to ask for consideration for ranchers to hook up to the Waimea irrigation system with a limit of no more than 10,000 gallons per day at a rate of 63 cents. The action was approved. Since then, the drought situation has gotten a tiny bit better, went from D3 to D2, but it's still dry. So therefore, we are coming to the board to ask for a extension until, I believe it's April 30th. You see here. Yeah, April 30th, same conditions. So no more than 10,000 gallons per day at the rate of 63 cents per 1,000 gallons. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion for the public? Tara? Yes.
Aloha. Yes, I did read this one, and I just want to make this quick comment about how for water issues. I know the last time I mentioned, and I'm going to reiterate again, that I read that, of course, we're still in a drought, or you're all still in a drought. You're putting the caps at 10,000 gallons a day, and at the rate, the 63 or so cents. Mind you, and keep this always in mind, that if water conservation and water issues are still in play here, that if now and in the future any other issues come up regarding land and rules, for example, like rules not being followed, you just said in the last one, rules that should be followed regarding the HRS's legislative, all that kind of stuff, that we know for a fact that sometimes rules are not followed to the detriment of the people of the Aina and of Hawaii. So in other words, long story short, to say, when people want to override or use agriculture, especially land, in a way that is for uses other than agriculture, for example, for building or big corporations or developers, whatever, I know you're agriculture, but just in case that comes into play here, that you make sure that you realize that water is an issue here in Hawaii and that you rule accordingly. Yeah. And so just always keep that in mind, that water is an important issue. You're in a drought. And just keep that in mind as you're discussing all issues. Okay. And just to be fair across the board. Mahalo.
Thank you, Chair. Noted. And any other public discussion? No? Okay. Board discussion. Go ahead, Jason. You want Jason to go first?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going first, so I'll let him go.
Jason?
Yeah, being the rookie over here, I just need to know that let you know I'll recuse myself when it comes to voting, but I did want to make some comments if that's okay.
So you're abstaining, but can you make comments?
So you're abstaining from the vote, but you're not recusing because you're gonna discuss.
The clarification is you're abstaining, not recusing, because you're in the discussion.
But you're not gonna vote.
I'm not going to vote, but I want
Yeah,
to
okay.
discuss if I can.
Yep.
Sure, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that, you know, the board members understand and staff understands that, yeah, this drought is persistent. It's gone on for over a year. We appreciate what, you know, the department did to make water available for emergency purposes, so hauling to livestock. And that since the beginning of this year, it hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. So there's certain areas of the island that may be receiving water, but the area in question has not received rainfall. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay, on that, noting that the drought is still in effect and it's been over a year, and you have a time frame of October 30th, 2026. If they're still in a drought by then, will the water still be available?
Oh, that'll be April.
April, yes. Will that water still be available after April because we're still in a drought?
I think that's something that the staff is going to take under advisement when the time comes. It's the rainy season now, and in the past, it has gotten better. We are not going to, what we're trying not to do is give it the perception of being a permanent long-term thing. So what we're trying to do is just take it as it comes and come back to the board for periods of time that seem reasonable and still recognize that it is a emergency request versus a status quo issue. That's really all we're trying to do.
Yeah, I understand that, but you know, here in Maui, if you look at the drought monitor, you see that dark red, very severe, and we've been in it for a couple of years. So, you know, you can't say that, you know, I can't tell you that it's a rainy season now. And the area I'm in right now, lucky if I've had an inch of rain in the last year, which is a rainy season. The other factor that I'd like to say is there's a cap of 10,000 gallons. Is that per applicant or is just total 10,000 gallons you can take?
Per applicant per day.
Per applicant. Okay, so what if the guy has, you know, his cattle, his carrying capacity surpasses 10,000 gallons? Is he penalized or what happens, you know, because the cattle drink more than 10,000 gallons a day?
There's nothing that we considered in the emergency request that I guess addressed if a person were to draw more. Because they're hauling, we have a meter on it and we can keep pretty good count of what's going on as far as truckloads go. It would become something that we would need to kind of have to address, I think, if it happens. We haven't had to deal with that. The usage has been well under 10,000 a day. So hopefully we won't get to that point.
And if it does?
We'll have to take care. We'll have to address that when it happens.
Okay, I know that get a haul water, but there's tankers that carries 4,000 gallons, one tanker. You got several tankers, and these guys are just going to go to water tanks to replenish water tanks so they can gradually flow to troughs. You know, the 10,000 would be, depends on what the herd size, but that's just my point. Would they get penalized? But you said you're going to have to take a look at it. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Member Young?
Hey, Chair. Thanks, Brian. My questions are kind of similar to Jimmy's, Director Gomes' questions, just on the per approved applicant. How has it been going in the in the first implementation? And I'll give you a little bit of context. It's just, sometimes with the state, people just don't find out about this kind of assistance. So just making sure that the smaller providers as well as the larger providers both have kind of equal access to this water subsidy for them. So just can you talk a little bit about the how we vet and approve applicants, what the criteria are, and then like who's using right now?
Sure. There's only actually one user so far.
Okay.
There were potentially two, but the second person who showed interest has, for whatever reason, not asked to take water. He did contact us initially and was granted permission, but has not taken water yet. As far as getting the word out, we haven't done any public noticing of it. I believe the people in the area are very well aware of this opportunity. We run a very thin line about resource, maybe not protection, but making sure that the primary users, which are the diversified agricultural farmers, still have what they need. So it's a very fine line of how we are trying to manage the water there. Right now, though, we are not in any kind of discussions to turn anyone away.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And Dr. Juanix, Jason.
Yeah, just some comments. Brian mentioned two users, and I made the request before joining the board, but I was a second user. Both of the users or potential users were being proactive. We were already well into a extended drought. We're in the middle of the drought, and one of the users began hauling. I started looking for equipment in case I needed to haul. I do have a county source of water that's somewhat reliable, and that was my concern, is if the county system went down for whatever reason, no backup equipment, and it's gone down a couple of times. We fall behind really quickly, and I needed to have something to go to pre-approved to be able to survive, really. There are some other ranchers in the same area, in the Hawaiian home area there, that like board member and Young mentioned, should probably be aware that if it's possible to work something out with the department, that this is an option, because they're in the same situation. If the county system goes down, they're without water and they need to be able to haul from someplace. The county usually makes water source available for them to haul from. But anyway, this drought is persistent in a very focal area. So from board member Jimmy Gomes' perspective, Brian's staff are the ones to make comment on it, but the area that they collect water from has been receiving decent amount of rainfall, but in this area where we're raising livestock has not. So appreciate what the department has done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Tara is raised her hand. Okay. So, Dr. Wittes, thank you. That explains the reason for your refusal. Oh, Mark.
Yeah, just a quick question, Brian. So, if water had to be shared with these different users, do you have to come to the board every time? Like, if they need water in an emergency, do you have to do that? Or are there emergency rules already in place where, staff can just go ahead and do that to take care of a situation that's an emergency?
If I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to give the attorney answer. I'm going to give you what I believe the law says. And the law grants the Board of Agriculture the opportunity to provide certain relief in an emergency situation. So to my knowledge, there is no blanket authorization or approval to staff in order to make that decision. Ostensibly because a decision of this magnitude isn't so much just providing water to one industry or one individual, but in certain cases, it means possibly taking it away from another. That is not the case here. As was discussed, the source is actually doing all right. It's just this particular area is dry.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other board discussion? Hearing, seeing none, recognizing that Dr. Moniz has recused himself, we're going to go to a roll call vote. So Dave Smith?
I mean, approved.
Approved. And we have Dr. Parwinder Gurwal.
Approve.
Mark Takimoto?
Approve.
Diane Lay?
Aye.
Nate Oswald?
Approve.
Thank you. Moniz is staining and Inya?
Yes.
Jimmy Gomes?
All right.
Aye, and chair votes yes. The motion is approved, as noted by the roll call vote. Thank you.
Are you going to go to old business so that we can do the Molokai thing, or are you going to go to B?
I think, in light of the length of time that we're expecting for B, we will move to the old business topic if that's allowed to get out of order. Taking it out of order, so to the public listening in, we're moving to item 5 and going to old business. Update on plan to address delinquent irrigation bills for the Molokai irrigation system as presented to the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity on September 23rd, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
Oh, it's not, this is
This is old business.
It's just not, so.
It's just
Not
an update.
overdue.
It's an update, it's not.
It's just an update. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The 2025 legislative session prioritized the matter of outstanding delinquencies by farmers on the MIS Molokai irrigation system, which is managed by the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. The Board of Ag has the power to charge and collect water tolls, fees, and other charges. And on its August 12, 2025 meeting, the Water User Advisory Board came before the board, department. I turned it around. I'll just read it instead of trying to summarize. The plan was introduced for the delinquency, to address the delinquency matter. It was introduced to the MIS board at their meeting held on August 12th and on the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity on September 23rd. The Board of Agriculture approved the plan to address the delinquencies on October 31st, 2025. And they asked for an update in January of 2026 on the procedure. So what we did was we implemented a one-time adjustment initiative allowing delinquent users to address past due balances while also notifying all users of measures being taken to prevent future delinquencies. Delinquent users were required to submit a signed settlement agreement form and new irrigation water application and to indicate whether they wish to affirm their commitment to the system or request removal. Users that accepted the adjustment offer and requested removal from the system could have their MIS account closed and their meter turned off. Delinquent account holders who did not accept the adjustment offered or otherwise resolve their outstanding balances had their irrigation water service discontinued, and their cases were forwarded to the Department of the Attorney General for further action. Users without delinquent balances were also notified of the adjustment event and given the opportunity to participate. However, these users were not penalized if they did not submit any of the forms. Following the board approval in September, the department initiated a comprehensive outreach effort to inform MIS account holders of the adjustment plan and outline the steps required to adjust their existing balances. Initial correspondence was sent on October 1st with a response deadline of December 15th. To ensure awareness and provide all MIS account holders an opportunity to respond, the department conducted an aggressive outreach campaign targeting more than 250 MIS account holders, with particular emphasis on the 82 delinquent accounts at risk of losing their MIS service. Outreach efforts included the following. During October and November of 2025, the department mailed 3 notices to all users, including 1 notice enclosed with the monthly invoice. From late October to early November, department staff conducted door-to-door visits to all consumers, delivering an additional copy of the notice and forms to each service location. We also hosted an in-person assistance event to help MIS users complete the required paperwork to receive the adjustment and remain on the system. The event was announced in the mailed and hand-delivered notices. It was also published in the Molokai Dispatch on November 5th. The assistant event was held on November 12th from 8:30 to 6 p.m. at both the Department of Hawaiian Homeland's office and the MIS base yard. December 2025, the department focused outreach efforts on delinquent account holders who had not responded to prior communications. A 4th letter was mailed and followed up with door-to-door visits and test calls. DHHL was very gracious in providing us assistance. Many of the MIS users are DHHL lessees, and the irrigation water application process requires landowner concurrence, which is DHHL. To ensure that the correct lessees of record were involved and that all required documentation was completed, the department worked closely with the DHHL Molokai office. DHHL Molokai office staff played an instrumental role in facilitating this process. At the start of the implementation, 82 MIS accounts were delinquent and over 60 days in arrears. The follow-up status of these 82 accounts is as follows. 58 account holders requested the adjustment and requested to remain on the system. 12 account holders requested the adjustment and requested removal from the system. 3 account holders paid their outstanding bills and remain on the system. 4 account holders did not respond, but their accounts were adjusted to 0 based on DHHL's review. In these cases, adjustments were made due to extenuating circumstances, such as the account holder having passed away, and 5 account holders did not respond. Following the December 15th deadline, the department shut off and discontinued irrigation water service for the 5 account holders who did not respond to the adjustment offer and issued written notification that they were no longer authorized to obtain water from MIS. These accounts were referred to the Department of the Attorney General for further action, and the department will continue to monitor these account locations to ensure that unauthorized use of water does not occur. The department also shut off and closed accounts for former account holders that requested account closure and removal from the system. These closed accounts will also be monitored to verify that unauthorized use of water does not occur. At the start of the effort, MIS had 82 accounts that were over 60 days delinquent in the amount of $1,523,471.88. As of December 31st, 2025, MIS has 5 accounts that were over 60 days delinquent in the amount of $20,705.54. In the event that future delinquencies occur, they will be addressed promptly. The department plans to turn off irrigation water, remove irrigation meters as needed, and cancel irrigation accounts if delinquencies occur in the future.
Thank you, Brian. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
It's
There are not. Tara, recognizing Tara.
Aloha, mahalo for Tara Rojas, mahalo for taking this one early. This is one I wanted to comment on. Okay, so my point for this one is mahalo nui for for your ability to adjust and to work with, right, those quote unquote delinquent. My point here though is for the 5 that have not signed your form, I want to bring this to the conversation. 1, is it possible to see the form that you all created for that was required? As I remember the last meeting, you said you're going to create this and then they have to sign it otherwise, and then the action that you just discussed right now would happen. Can we see that? And then 2, for the 5 that did not pay, I want to bring to light these things. Could it possibly be that 1, these 5 are Kanaka and they just refuse to sign anything from the state? With that being said, I would like to say that any Kanaka should not be refused water, vai, or even aina on their own homelands, because again, they should not be denied access to water and aina. Okay? Because the land has never been ceded. 2, could it possibly be that they did not see it, no matter regarded of how you said the outreach you did? Because I was, really grateful just to be this past weekend in a Kalo event in Hawaii Island, Hamakua, Honoka'a. It was so easy to see and to be like in the kukuna, if you want to say it, to be oblivious to the outside world because you're just engrossed in malama aina, like literally malama aina. And then until, it affects you and whatnot. So to come out of that cocoon and be like, okay, now the real world again, all the realities of illegally occupied big state of Hawaii, happenings and dealings and boards. So that's another idea too. So that if those 5, you could, I don't know, reach out somehow. But also, what if they refuse? If they're Kanaka, you shouldn't be refusing them the water. And then 3, I'm in a case and I've been following along and I wasn't even what was it called, contacted regarding that. They were going to literally discuss my case in a meeting because I didn't know the rules that, okay, they're going to put this thing up like so many days before they were going to discuss it. I'm not going to, I wasn't looking. So I wasn't even aware of it until I saw that they already had the meeting discussing my case. And I've been following along. So I'm like, that could also be another issue. And then finally and lastly, the 5, like the refusals and in addition of how things work. Like I refuse the pandemic. I'm just going to say it, I refuse the jab. Now we see what happens now, that the things that they're saying about it. So the same thing, I'm going to say this because the issue of following rules and the big geothermal push, I'm going to say this because I was also there when all the tephra and the Pele's hair, all of that happened, just recently. And until you're affected, you don't realize the effects of these type of things happening. And all in all to say that, for example, PGV didn't even follow their own rules. And then I was at the Department of Clean Air branch. They didn't even follow their own rules. It was brought to the attention and still nothing happens. And I don't know the results and the decision of the Clean Air branch on approving the PGV extension, knowing that they were supposed to have closed down after 6 months. So, and they're now there for 40 years. So why am I saying this? Because the effect of Pele continuously fracked for PGV and geothermal in the active volcano, she's mad. And if this is not the wake up call for all of you, especially on Moko Keawe, in Pahoa, in Puna, or even all the way to Hilo and being affected by the ash. And if you're in catchment systems and you can't use your water for bathing, drinking, or nothing, because now you have to clean it, that's the effect of wrongful decision making and allowing people that are not following the rules and affecting human health and land and aina and water health. That's the effect. So until it affects you in your home, you're not going to realize. And then what are you going to do? Oh, you just follow the rules because that's what's stated. So really bring to mind, if Tutu Pele is trying to, let you all know, wake up now, you have to do it now, whether it's this issue, Molokai, water, those 5 that refusing, look to see if they're Kanaka, the CRB issue we're going to hear right now. Think about that. Food, water, aina, resources, and true jurisdiction land rights. you have to keep that into account. Mahalo.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, any other public testimony?
Go ahead.
No? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Moving back on the agenda to item E1. Request for review and approval of the petition from Megan Lamson, Hawaii Wildlife Fund, and Leila Kealoha, Pohaku Pelemaka, to initiate administrative rulemaking to implement an interim rule pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statutes 150A-9.5 to require the Department to require a Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity permit or compliance agreement for the following: to contain and or slow the spread of CRB on Hawaii Island. A, restrict the transportation of coconut rhinoceros beetle, CRB, host material, which includes all genera of live palms, plants, live palm plants, potted plants of any size, decomposing plant materials such as compost, wood, tree chips, and mulch, plant propagation media, and other items comprising decomposing organic plant material, such as landscaping material or erosion control stocks from a designated CRB infested area on Hawaii Island to any other area in the state. And B, restrict the transportation, receipt, processing, sale, barter, donation, or otherwise giving away of CRB host material within the designated CRB infested area on Hawaii Island. So on this issue, I want to note that on the submittal to the department, Oahu's name was misspelled on the petition that was submitted. We're going to let you know in case it becomes an issue. The correct name is Pohaku, and the petition says Pokaku. Minor point, but it could be an issue. So, is there a motion to approve the request?
The request is to support.
That's what it says
Second.
here.
Yes.
Dave made the clarification that the request is to support, and he approves the motion with Jimmy doing the second. Thank you. Presentation by staff.
Okay, good morning, Chair, members of the board. My name is Jonathan Ho. I am the Plant Quarantine Branch Manager. Noticing the large number of testifiers, I'll try to get through this really quickly.
Jonathan, I'm going to ask you to don't speed. Be very deliberate in what we're talking about. Otherwise,
sure,
the board might have questions.
Okay, not a problem. Basically, we have a request for review and approval of a petition from Megan Lamson from the Hawaii Wildlife Fund and Leila Kealoha from Pohaku Pelemaka to initiate administrative rulemaking to implement an interim rule pursuant to HRS 158.9.5 to require a permit or compliance agreement to contain or slow the spread of CRB on Hawaii Island. Basically, as stated on the title, A and B. So on January 12th, the Office of the Chairperson received the petition from the petitioners. I'll refer to Megan and Leila as the petitioners, requesting that the board adopt an interim rule for CRB for a wide swath of commodities as listed in the submittal. And ultimately, the goal is to do the regulation through permitting and or a compliance agreement, depending on the type of activities that they're doing and whether they are commercial or not. Ultimately, their petition is included in the submittal as Appendix A, and they've included a proposed interim rule in their petition, which was included as Attachment A, and then proposed compliance agreement, which was included as Attachment B. This petition basically is brought under the board's rules, and the substance of the petition meets the requirements for board consideration. And ultimately, in order to pass a rule, the board, there needs to be a finding by the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals pursuant to 158.9.5 that there's emergency and the lack of rules, which would then enable the implementation of an interim rule by the board. Basically, the rule, as stated, the interim rule is for compliance agreements or permits, depending on the types of uses, for live pond plants, potted plants of any size, decomposing plant material, compost, wood, mulch, chips, and it creates some exceptions. A lot of the requirements are very similar to a compliance agreement that was used in 2022, I believe, on Oahu. The petitioners have provided a designated quarantined or infested area, as shown in the submittal, which is taken directly from them, and it uses the shore and very specific roadways to geographically map that area, and it matches the voluntary compliance order that was issued by Mayor Alameda in Hawaii County. Ultimately, the petitioner's information that was provided makes sense. There's no dispute. And using a compliance agreement and or permit may be a means of slowing CRB spread. Just to note, obviously this is very similar to what's done on Oahu. Obviously, unfortunately, did not work. And then some of the provisions, again, are 3 to 4 years old and likely need to be updated to match a lot of the standards for a lot of the things that we're doing now. I've listed a number of things that I just initially identified while reviewing the petition, the interim rule and the compliance agreement. And, some of the, again, we're going through some of it again, right? There's, the lack of comprehensive data, at least access to it, for what, where, how much has been done, not only within the infested area, but throughout the entire island of Hawaii Island. There's some kind of funk as it relates to generally, we normally restrict from an infested area to a restricted area, which is uninfested. This one restricts within it. So that creates some challenges, for example, things that are transiting through it. How do you determine where it originated from, for example, or you have somebody coming on an airplane, things like that, bring hand carrying things. There's some conflicts as it relates to treatments. Some allow treatments, which obviously if they eradicate everything, even if it's damaged, it should be allowed to move, which is a pretty standard practice from a quarantine standpoint. However, it prohibits it. Another place in kind of in the same section, obviously those things kind of need to be clarified. There are requirements for non-commercial activities, including movement. And one of the things this petition does, it kind of delves into DOH things, particularly as it relates to processing of CRB host material, which is including like compost. So for example, as stated, it would appear that composting, which is what people do in their backyards, would require a permit for every single person. And obviously, I think from a regulatory standpoint, very difficult to manage and or enforce. Again, some inconsistencies about what requirements, what can be done, what cannot be done. The use of timeframes, again, these were I think they're a few years old. I believe that current research does not comport with this. For example, fresh cut logs of coconut are highly attractive to CRB, and they've been using them as an attractant. So obviously, this 30-day requirement probably would be insufficient. So obviously, we would need to change that somehow. And then again, reinfestation. So as it relates to storage of material that can house CRB. Once it's subject to treatment, there are things in this agreement that do require it, and sometimes they don't. As it relates to movement from Oahu, for example, of green waste, it is subjected to a treatment, whether it be a fumigation or a heat treatment. After it's been verified, it is witnessed to be placed into a sealed container that would prevent CRB reinfestation, then it's allowed movement. Again, there's inconsistencies as it relates to when and how this is put. Sometimes it's 48 hours, sometimes it's immediate. So obviously those things need to be addressed specifically. And again, the use of hot or composting and heat treatment need to be clarified. It talks specifically about like microbial processes, but you can, there's been a lot of work done with, like injection of steam and things like that. And we use them currently. So obviously we would need to make sure all of those fit into the requirements. There's requirements for all the green waste to go to composters or processing facilities, and within 30 days. I know that those folks have permits through DOH for solid waste, and those permits do have limits in terms of the volume that they can receive. I don't know how much green waste is in this area, and ensuring that all of it gets there and they're able to process it. I'm not sure how that works in terms of the permitting. And then a lot of the language for the definitions comes directly from DOH, and a lot of it does talk about transport and storage and processing. And I don't claim to know in any way, shape, or form DOH's HARs. And I think realistically, that really needs to be clarified to the extent of, one, are we impeding? I don't know. Or if they're already managing it through their regulations, why are we making another regulation when there's already another agency that can already do it? It doesn't, I think you should make more regulations that are necessary to achieve the end goal. And, and again, I've talked about this before in other interim rules, again, from historically, on-island quarantines have been ineffective, unfortunately. And I think particularly with CRB, which is a pest that hitchhikes quite well. There have been reports of it jumping on vehicles and being found all over the place. In addition to the fact that it can fly quite well, leads to some of the challenges about managing this. Some other things about it, for example, like there's no definitions of potted plants, for example. But there are things which I brought up before, things like cuttings or tissue cultured plants or bare rooted plants, which I think from the standpoint of risk are pretty much minimized or zero. So obviously there should be sometimes exceptions for that. Again, defining, again, non-commercial versus commercial activities, I think should be clarified. There are situations, for example, if a nursery that is under a compliance agreement would need to get a permit to donate plants for an activity, for example, to get things like that. The interim rule appears in part 7 to require inspection and improve mitigation and decontamination, which seems to kind of conflict with the petition because the intent is to have them use a compliance structure, which doesn't necessarily involve the department. And seeing the volume of things that are being regulated in this, the department has no way of actually conducting the inspections. There's only 3 inspectors in Kona, and they work 7 days a week. And then I have 9 inspectors in Hilo, obviously driving them over to conduct these inspections. Obviously doesn't quite work to the extent of their normal functions that they already have to do. Additionally, there's a charge for these inspections. They're $50 per inspection. I'm sorry, $50 per hour per inspection plus mileage reimbursement. So obviously that's a statutory thing, so we can't waive that. There's things about like the penalties, for example, that you may be penalized if you may have caused an infestation. I think that needs to be managed. I think obviously that particular language has been used before in the Molokai interim rule. And I think to the extent that, again, knowing how the beetle works and the fact that we don't necessarily have very comprehensive surveying, to penalize somebody for spreading CRB when there's really no way of determining it, it creates, in my opinion, some liability, because it's quite subjective as to did they cause another infestation or not. I don't know how to really deal with that. And in prior interim rules, again, direct export was something that was allowed from certified nurseries. Again, direct export outside of the state, and we believe that should maintain. I think from the standpoint of managing spread. There are, it's like, for example, like the term processing is used somewhat inconsistently. You have the use of processing center, processing site, processing facility. Obviously, how they work throughout the rule obviously needs to be clarified. I think the definition of processing needs clarification to the extent of, I think it's designed, for composting as it relates to DOH, but a lot of the nurseries particularly do take, either on-premise stuff and utilize it as potting media, or they use it as mulch for what do you call it? Water loss. I can't think of the word, I'm sorry. So again, right, so I think a lot of those things, again, going back to DOH, need to be clarified. The program as it relates to the compliance agreement is the department, CRB response, and BISC. They're collectively referred to as the program within the compliance agreement. The compliance agreement requires training only by BISC, and training cannot occur. If training cannot occur, there's no ability to get a compliance agreement. I don't want to speak for BISC's ability to conduct the trainings, ensure all the people are trained, and then providing the information over. The agreement also allows BISC and CRB response to access anywhere in the location or the facility, the vehicles that are used to transfer, process, or maintain CRB host material. They're non-regulatory, so not sure how that's going to function specifically for a lot of these folks that will be potentially regulated. I think you have the ag part, but I'm not sure if there are other people that do commercial activity for this that are, in agreement with that. Again, there's some inconsistencies, like particularly as it relates in like section 3 for potting mixes, for example, or composted material. It prohibits the movement of compost unless it's been completely processed, which is the DOH term, 131 degrees for 72 hours. So there is no other provision that allows it. So for example, could they have heat treated it? Could they have fumigated it prior to use? Obviously, those things should be allowed. It should not be only one way, especially if a lot of them are not certified composters. And then obviously, I would believe that those folks would require DOH permits, at least from my very high level understanding of the DOH requirements. Section 5, I think, was initially created for, receiving of like mulch, but by definition, receivers, anyone who receives potted plants, for example. And again, I don't believe this is intended, but as it's read, a receiver, right, is anyone who receives potted CRB host material, would require a compliance agreement for the hauler or the transporter. And so obviously, if you have a compliant nursery with a compliance agreement, you would then need, conceivably FedEx, UPS, the Postal Service, whoever, to have a compliance agreement, for movement. I don't think that's the intent, but as written, that's the requirement, or again, obviously it would be in violation. And it also requires that the materials that are delivered are for processing, which is chipping. So obviously, I think that the intent was not for that, but again, it goes back to trying to we gotta make sure we fix all of this. And then, like for example, in section 6 about the contracting of parties, there's a clause, for example, that requires that prohibits people who contract from, or requires people who contract to insert a clause that requires a compliance agreement. I don't know if the state can compel that legally through this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously it was used before, but not really sure. And then, and I think the other things, for example, CRB response and BISC are exempt from the requirements of the rule. Generally, that's not something we do. Not that we couldn't give them a permit, but generally we don't exempt people from the requirements. Like for example, university has a permit for CRB. Again, we could do the same thing for CRB and response and BISC, but again, not something that's historically done. Ultimately, I haven't done like this unbelievable deep dive, but I think to the extent of, I think the compliance agreement, I believe the intent was to create a structure that did not require inspections, based on the way the petition was written, and it was to create a passive structure through standards that are established in the compliance agreement for a large swath of groups. I think to the extent of moving forward, I think the compliance agreement should probably be split for the individual use cases, because I think it makes it a lot harder to train people, for example, because if you don't do some of their goods, it's in the agreement. I don't know. It just feels a little bit overly cumbersome. I think as it relates to getting it across to the folks that are going to be regulated, among other things. But ultimately, I think to the extent of moving forward, obviously this petition requires the board to approve or deny rulemaking. And the branch is going to recommend the disapproval of immediate rulemaking. Okay. However, this is contingent upon a recommendation that the board, as similar to what was done with the Molokai interim rule, direct the branch again to still use the process of interim rulemaking, and to go to PNA and subcommittee or whatever it needs to clarify a lot of the requirements, and then bring it back before the board at another time. So I'm not saying the branch isn't saying deny the petition and do nothing. It's just the 30-day requirement needs to be approved or denied. We're recommending denial, but we're also recommending that the board recommend that the branch again, or direct the branch to move forward through the process and refine this to make sure that it works, not only I think for the folks and for the petitioners and for the testifiers, but I think for those folks that are being regulated, and I think there's a lot of folks who are unknowingly going to be regulated, that need to that I think need some clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. So before we move forward with board approval of the motion, where am I? I'd like to ask the board if we should go into executive session to consult with the attorney to answer questions that you might have regarding this petition, which is in front of us. And as Jonathan said, we want to move forward. And because you said, I think you said 30-year, but it's a 30-day provision, right?
Yeah, so the rule requires that the board approve or deny within 30 days of receipt. So I think it was received on the 14th. I think it was dated. Okay, sorry, I'm sure. Okay, yeah, so 12th or the 14th. So we're within the 30-day window.
Right. We're within the 30-day window, but the board is being asked to deny or approve within the 30 days.
The request was to review and approve. Is that not your recommendation?
Oh, that was my fault. My fault.
Okay, so that's what your motion is right now, but it looks like the actual recommendation is to not approve and to just direct them to go forward with the usual practice, because I think we can't approve any, I mean, the board cannot legally approve, because for an interim rule, it requires a finding by the
Advisory committee.
Plan of Animal Advisory Committee.
That's correct.
And that's what happened the last time we had something with the interim rule, it had to go through there first. So your recommendation is to not approve, but to direct you to move it forward.
Yes, I mean, it's
To
more
allow the
procedural,
process, the
basically.
procedural, just to allow a review, a more comprehensive review, working with the petitioners.
Yep.
To try to see how we can make this,
Because if they were to approve today, maybe violate interim rule requirement.
So.
Can we do that in the process of doing the interim rule?
What I would like to have, make sure the board is aware of what they're being asked to vote on.
So I think she's saying if somebody has a legal question and you wanna talk to me,
Yeah.
you can get a exec session, but if you don't, you can move forward with this.
I would rather get some. Can we just do testimony? What's the?
The question is, before we move into public testimony, I'd like to know from the board if they are ready to hear public testimony and if they understand. I'd like our attorney to explain what we're actually approving. So, then the board.
But if you don't need it, then we don't.
Yeah, if we don't need it, let's move forward with David's suggestion, but let me read this. Pursuant to HRS section 92
Oh, no, don't read unless you read it.
Okay, don't read it unless you read it. So can we vote?
I mean, oh, oh, okay, so you are gonna take a vote, you're not gonna feel the temperature first.
How do I feel the temperature?
And then, does anybody on the board want to go into the exec
There's a
session?
hand.
Oh,
That's
no,
not our
those
turns.
are.
Okay.
It looks like nobody is raising.
David is saying that we should move forward with public testimony. If there's no other comment, we will move forward with public testimony. My concern was only that I asked Jonathan to explain the process, and it was quite intense. Thank you, Jonathan. I think I get it. So I'm giving the board a chance to have the same intensive explanation of what we're approving. And it's certainly not saying we're not gonna move forward. It just allows time for Jonathan or the PQ branch to make the changes that will result in the interim rule that is being asked, but with the revisions that maybe make it stronger and maybe make it. Jimmy.
I agree with staff, and I think he should work with the challenges and questions that he has in the proposed interim rules. The only question I have is, I agree with Jonathan, and because there's some pukas in the thing that he feels, but what would be a time frame for it to come back before the board? As you're researching all of this, but I do agree with staff's recommendation. But what would be a time frame? So, we as board would know, this is gonna come back, and also the public would know this will come back.
They're prepared.
The earliest it could come back, provided that there isn't much. I mean, we do nothing else, not nothing else, but so the earliest it could come back would be it would be really tight. Would be the next board meeting, because we'd have to turn this around in like a few days.
We still need the.
Yeah, right. No. So I mean, so you could do P&A 2 weeks from now. So you would have 1 week. So I mean, you're.
But Jonathan, you have other duties. You have other duties to take care of. You think a month would be really tight for you? I would think. I don't know. Your workload.
The March board meeting is probably more realistic to the extent of getting it done. And obviously, if it can be done sooner, we will. But I think the March board meeting is not unreasonable.
For me, then I agree with that.
Timing is critical here, like putting it out.
Right, so.
Every week is critical.
It's
not something that we want to put off.
I don't think it's putting it off. I think that's how long it's gonna take for them to.
Putting it off.
Okay.
Okay, so my comment on that, thank you, Jimmy. My comment on that is that because of the opening day and state of the state, I have had the opportunity to speak with the county of Hawaii. And the enforcement piece is something we need to prepare for. We want to enforce properly. We want to implement the rule. We understand the urgency. We have a voluntary rule in place. If we choose as a board to do a more intensive deep dive and fine tune to a rule that is enforceable, successfully enforceable, based on all these comments that Jonathan just went through, and knowing that the current voluntary can be extended, and the past experiences with a mandatory interim rule has not been successful, and the county is concerned about that. And the key word here is bungee top virus. They kept bringing that up as a not a way to go. So we're looking for a path that is enforceable and successful in fighting this very, very difficult and mobile pest. The beauty is we have it has a 7-month life cycle. We can, by delaying it 3 months, in your words, to get a rule that's enforceable. That's my comment, is having considered this and knowing and hearing from Hawaii County, if the board chooses to approve, it's totally, I get it.
We can't approve this. Well, you can, but you would be violating 150.
Yeah, but
so
knowing that, Jen, that's why I wanted to go to 6.
I'm sorry.
But knowing that, if the board could, you see this testimony, you see the people that are out there, it's important, we need to address it. So again, the board, let me ask the question again. Would you like to go into executive session to hear the violations that might be incurred if we move forward? And that the violation is with the process, the P&A and the process for the interim rulemaking. Okay, Jason. Yeah.
A question for Jonathan. What is the duration of the outbreak in West Hawaii? How long has it been going on?
2023, if I remember correctly.
Over the last,
maybe longer.
yeah, over the last year, 6 months, geographically, how much has it expanded?
So it's been found kind of throughout that area, the proposed quarantine area, in varying levels. Most of the breeding sites are focused around, I think, the ag park and just above it, where I don't know what above is, I guess, Malka. Yeah, that's, and there've been others, but those are the bigger ones as of right now.
So within the area, it's spreading, but it hasn't spread outside the area?
I guess what we know, correct, it is spreading. How far it's actually spread, I don't think there's any really good way of determining that, especially for an incipient infestation, because damage, which is, I think, primarily the way that most people are reporting, is like months after. Obviously before you start seeing the damage. A small breeding population, unless people are actually turning the green waste that they're breeding in, it's unlikely to be detected.
What you have in place now for control, eradication versus what is being proposed by these organizations, what's the main differences?
So the petition, at least in my interpretation, I think seeks to try to bridge the gap of trying to create a requirement for people to do a predetermined set of standards, best management practices for all intents and purposes, but yet not necessarily have, I think, what PQ would normally do of mandatory inspections for everything, because that's kind of how we do everything now right now. And obviously the way the rule is written and the way that the compliance agreement written, again, seem to conflict, because again, I don't know if that's the intent, because one says everything needs to be inspected, the other one says it's compliance only. So obviously we need to fix that, but would a set of best management practices that are done through an interim rule with very little oversight from the branch, again, like I said, we have 3 people, will it be more effective? I don't know. And I think that's one of the challenges as it relates to CRB, and the fact that it's a pest that really takes advantage of a lot of the things that we have been promoting in the state, saving, not wasting green waste and composting, and not using mulch for water retention. You have like the worst case scenario. A lot of those things have been developed, and now you're telling everybody you need to get rid of all of it, and all of those practices, they cannot do them anymore until there's a solution. And I think that's one of the challenges, because there's a 30-day requirement for them to dispose of all green waste at a certified processor. So again, some of the challenges that are posed with this.
I imagine you guys have utilized incident command, multiple agencies, maybe on Oahu. Is that being considered on the Big Island, since you don't have staff required to meet the
Yes. Sorry.
I want to clarify that while we don't have staff, we have been treating with many staff, the airport. We've responded to the emergencies with the staff that we have. We've treated all those trees at the Onizuka. It's not like we have 3 staff. We have a cadre of people. We call on the county, we call on the HISCs and the VISCs and it's all hands on deck. So there are people we can call on. And so I just wanted to insert that it's not, we're not alone. People in this room, we're all on the same side. The petition has given us a really good list of things that we have to do, but I wanted Jonathan to go detail, because if you cut down a coconut tree, you have 30 days, Jonathan, to dispose of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Things like that are really tough to enforce. So it's more like I was leaning toward, how are we gonna do this? It's a good idea. It'll certainly move to the problem, but how do we enforce it? If you cut down a coconut tree, do you have to have your neighbors tattle on you? Or do you have to report it before you cut it down? Those are the nitty bitty nuances that we need to figure out before we can, do a good job with enforcement. And we do want to do a good job. We wanna do it, but enforcement's a problem. So those are the types of things that we're gonna figure out. Whether or not you approve it or not, we're gonna have to, work with that. As was pointed out, we will be in violation of the rules if we approve it today, because we haven't had the proper process to go in front of the Plant and Animal Board, which is like herding cats sometimes. Excuse me for saying that, but they do have, it's hard to get all of them together in the same room to meet and agree. So, Diane.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to answer your question about going into executive session. I don't need to at this point, but I do think process-wise, we should take public testimony and then have further board discussion and question answer.
I think I was always intending to take public testimony. It was just a matter of giving you the background in which to digest it up. Okay? Is there another handout? Otherwise, we will move to public testimony. I don't have to ask.
You want to do the room?
Oh, yes, maybe we'll do the room first so that they can, we'll do 1-1-1-1. Okay.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club of Hawaii. We are in strong support of moving forward with some kind of regulatory intervention, such as that proposed in the petition. As has been stated, time is absolutely of the essence. And I really want to impress upon the importance of providing deadlines for movement. Bring this like we did with Molokai, right? Like you can tell staff you expect to see something up for decision making by next meeting. And I mean, it's if you don't do that, it's been like July 1st of last year. It's been that long since we've had this voluntary compliance order. We're supposed to have a mandatory order followed up. It's been over a year, right? It's been a better part of a year. It's going to be over a better part of a year waiting for something. And it's a little, so if you don't put a deadline, I'm not optimistic to see that we're going to see any kind of action before things get too late, right? And to answer the question about how far does it spread, it's the first detections of Waikoloa. Now they're finding it by the airport, right? It's Palamanui, Makale, Kiholo. I mean, this is Kona. It's harder for this beetle to spread in Kona because it's dry. If this beetle hits someplace wet or forested, it's game over, right? So time is of the essence. Every single day, we're looking at the threat of this bug being established. I just want to close, please stop using, if we can please stop saying that because CRB can somehow escape in some other way, that you shouldn't do anything, right, at all. It's a theme that's been coming up in these hearings and meetings. I've been told, if there's 5,000 bugs outside of the door, just because some of them can crawl through the bottom doesn't mean I try and close the door, right? You open the door, they all come through, and it's got much harder to control. So don't let perfect be enemy of the good. And I'll also say, the petitioners can speak for themselves. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to work through whatever issues have been identified. I also want to encourage asking your legal counsel for support, because I'm not sure, there's a lot of legal speculation in the presentation that we just heard. These rules, my understanding, rules and petition were put together by legal experts. Many of the provisions were based on the Department of Ag's own interim rules. So, it's one thing to speculate and as a layperson, a non-attorney, on what may or may not being implicated by the rules, but if you actually can have experts, and there's experts in the community, there's experts in other agencies that can be very helpful in facilitating that process moving forward. So with that, we urge you to please take action today. Set a deadline for something moving. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we're going to be, again, this generation is going to see the end of Hawaii Island as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you. And online, we're going to go 111. Yeah, spin.
Okay, we'll allow Corey Arden.
Good morning, board members. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, I just want to thank you for your thoughtful consideration of all the topics, including this very thorny one. I'm in strong support of the petition from the Wildlife Fund and Pohaku Pelemaka, possibly with some revisions to address the concerns you are raising. So I'll just be brief. Thank you. You seem to be very thoughtful and taking this seriously. And I just would like to echo what the previous testifier said. Time is of the essence. Better to get something going and get some control and perhaps retune it later. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Corey. And from the room?
Right, no, please,
You're
sorry.
closer.
Peter Hicks with Southern Turf Hawaii. Steve, good morning, Chairperson and members of the board. I'd like to begin by stating clearly we are in favor of preserving Hawaii from invasive species and that are critically important to us. We live here, we're from here, we work here, our families, our livelihoods, and our futures are all tied in the health of these islands. We are not advocating for anything that would harm Hawaii's ecosystem, our agriculture, or native species. We're supporting strong, effective measures to contain and control the CRB. We're just asking for a solution that's targeted, workable, and fair. We have an ag lot at Keohole, commercial sod farmers, and our sod farm depends on the continuous movement of sod to our off-parcel customers. Under the proposed rule, the transportation, receipt, processing, sale, barter, donation, or giving away is the rule, giving away of what the rule defines as CRB host material is prohibited within and from the infested area unless done under permit or formal compliance agreement. The rule defines transport as movement of and out of the single tax map key. Like even though sod itself is not explicitly named, the production necessarily involves organic matter, trimmings, roots, thatch, and green waste. It's all underneath the rules that are defined by the CRB host material. As a result, the rule would effectively restrict or condition our ability to sell sod off parcel unless we obtain permits, compliance agreements, submit exceptions, adopt treatment protocols, train staff, keep records, et cetera, et cetera. The proposed interim rule is a blanket restriction to all operations within the zone. So regardless of whether they caused or contributed the infestation, whether they maintain clean sites, or whether they've already been following best management practices. In effect, responsible operators are being economically penalized if conditions are created by negligent neighbors. Plant quarantines, Bone Branch just talked about serious concerns, acknowledging that there's not enough people to do this. You know, this is an unrealistic goal, and I don't know the legalities if you approve this today or not, and where that goes. Which we want something done. I just don't think this framework is the way to get it done at all. Thank you.
Okay, we'll call Katie.
Katie, you're on.
Whoop, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Katie. I live and work in West Hawaii. I am in strong support of this interim rule to help reduce the spread of CRB. I just want to emphasize time is of the essence. Yeah, we've had it in Waikoloa since 2023, but a lot of new breeding sites have been found in this Kona area. And I want to clarify, CRB reproduces solely in green waste, mulch, rotting coconut, palms, and it has destroyed coconut and palm in other Pacific islands that weren't able to take dramatic measures. The only successful eradication of note was on a 16 square kilometer island that sanitized all breeding sites. And I know that more sites are being found in this area. There's other parties, federal, state, and county, that have the national park there has about 100 lolu planted within this area. These are endemic and endangered plants, unique to Hawaii. So yeah, maybe some of the language needs to be addressed and changed here, but it would be an ultimate failure of agricultural practice if nothing happens, especially quickly. Waiting is not the answer. The clock is ticking for the spread of CRB here in Hawaii, and every week is absolutely critical. I'm just begging that we take this threat seriously now. It should not be on, private owners and federal and state parks to have to spray and inject every pond that they have if they want it to be protected. We need to take green waste pretty seriously here. And maybe this rule sounds like an overreach. I disagree, but I think it is a necessary step. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Katie. In the room?
Sorry, I hopped on my phone. I woke up at 2 a.m. and I'm trying to remember all the things I want to hit. All right, aloha chair and members of the board. My name is Jody Rosam. I'm the plant program manager for Hawaii Wildlife Fund, so also one of the petitioners. Thank you guys so much for allowing us the opportunity to provide testimony. I stand by all of the testimonies that were submitted by Hawaii Wildlife Fund and also the one that was submitted jointly with Pohaku Pelemaka that addressed a lot of the points that Jonathan brought up. I really urge you guys to take a careful read at those. If you haven't yet, then I would urge you to take a recess to do so because we did address all of those points. I also think you would agree with me that those points can be addressed during a simple board meeting or with the Plants and Animals Advisory Commission. I am encouraged to see that the rules outlined in our petition were in close alignment by the review done by PQB. I also really encourage you to have a very close look at the petition, because some of the terms that were brought up earlier were not actually used in our petition, such as quarantine and permits. Though it's the work of DAB and the advisory committee to really iron out all these issues. It shouldn't be on private citizens. And we're over 1 year into this invasion and into this infestation. We already know voluntary compliance agreements are not working. We were supposed to have an interim rule in June. Here we are with the second one expiring in just 4 days. I'm still kind of perplexed as to why nothing has been done by the department in over a year and why we're only talking about this now. I think that urgency is the highlight of this testimony. We have spoken with our council members and our representatives and senators, and they are on board. I know some more submissions of testimony have been rolling in late thanks to legislative session opening, but have a look at those if you can too. The recommended practices outlined in the petition are not intended to force businesses to cease operations, nor be threatening, nor be cumbersome. They're just best management practices that will protect our endangered species, protect our farmers, our cultural practitioners, and keep our landscape alive. I am a firm believer that we are a reflection of our own environment. And when we lose species, we lose part of ourselves. We as public citizens should not have to do the work of DAB, but we should be able to feel confident that our state and county will work diligently to protect us from ecological and economical threats of invasive species. To bring up Jason's point as to maintaining the spread versus eradication, I just wanted to touch on the economic costs. A palm treatment, one palm, is going for about $200 per palm to treat, and that lasts 1 year. So if you exponentially multiply this, think about a hotel with 1,000 palms, think about county parks, state parks that have multiple palm trees. We're talking about this number that is going to get massive. And this economic cost is going to be far greater than those incurred by temporarily following best management practices within an infestation zone. And it doesn't need to be this way. You guys have an opportunity to act on this today, not in 6 months, not in a year, but today. We're already late. And if you take this action, it's going to help restore public faith in DAB. It really is. It's going to be on the forefront of an economical and ecological threat and take action to actually contain CRB on Hawaii Island. I humbly and respectfully urge you guys to be proactive and not reactive. Thank you.
Okay, call in on Ken Cho.
Aloha, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kencho. I live in Hilo. I'm a new farmer and I just planted a bunch of coconut trees on the land that I'm caretaking this past weekend. And I couldn't help but wonder, are these trees going to make it in a few years? Your new name is Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, and we really expect and want you folks to be leading the way on this. Most of us here on Hawaii Island see this as our last chance. You guys are our last chance to fight off CRB. And so we're begging you, we're all coming here together today and we're begging immediate action. Our county is not doing enough. There's no signs around mulch pickup areas in Waikoloa and Kona. There's no public awareness campaigns, nothing. So we're really seeing you as our last hope here. And we really hope that you make a decision today to please do this and not defer. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Aloha, folks. I'm Franny Brewer, and I'm Program Manager for Big Island Invasive Species Committee. As the early detection arm of CRB response in Kona, we were the first to find it in one of our traps at the airport in March of 2025. And since then, we've been alarmed week by week watching this spread of the beetle. We've had at least 2 instances where we can confirm that CRB was detected in new areas, that it was not possible for it to reach through natural spread, which means it was human spread that was carrying it. And we know that that's the most common way that this beetle moves around the world. We've been asking, we meaning my county, my constituents that I know, all my NGOs that I work with, my partners that do land and natural resources management, everyone wants to know in our county, what are we doing to stop that spread? Which again, the way that CRB is most spread around the world, we know it's through human movement. And so far there's been only the voluntary order. And I could go into, I work on a voluntary compliance program for plants that we've done for 10 years. I can go into what the challenges are on that, but we don't have time. But I will say that we were told that the voluntary compliance order would be in place for 3 months from June through September. And at that point, DAB would have an interim rule ready. When that didn't happen, we weren't given any information. So in October, we had to ask for a meeting to say, why don't we have an interim rule? And the county was asked, well, just do it again, do another voluntary rule and we'll get one at the end of the year. In November, our county R&D rep came to one of our meetings and said, what's the update? And no one from DAB had any information for him. And now we're, it's the 27th and it expires on the 31st and there's still no interim rule. I understand that, Jonathan shared a lot of challenges with the petition. That's because the petition was done by amateurs. They're doing the job that should be done by the regulatory agency of this state. And it should have been done in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We are now in January. We should not wait any longer. This beetle is spreading. We're watching it spread. I'm texting with my staff. They're finding beetles today. We need something to be done now. The petitioners are more than happy to see changes to the petition to make sense, but those should be coming from DAB. That's what the presentation should have been today. And that's what we ask going forward, that some protections are taken to make sure that this beetle stops spreading. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Okay, calling on Chuck.
Chuck, you're on.
Oh, yes. Aloha. My name is Chuck Flaherty. I am representing the Sierra Club Hawaii Island Group. We submitted written testimony. The one thing that I would like to note is the tone of the meeting is one in which I'm noticing, and this is, I don't want to be offensive, but there just seems to be a lack of urgency in the tone of the meeting. And having been an auditor myself personally, and having audited information systems and internal controls, I understand the sort of challenges that the department was mentioning, but at the same time, I also understand that you create a system, you put in what controls that you think you can and that work, and then you test them. Speaking as someone who's experienced invasive species over my lifetime and how they work, it's going to be very, very, very hard to control CRB. Just as the little fire ant. It's so sad when people go out, including myself, to pick coffee, to pick our cacao, and suddenly ants are raining down and stinging you. It's just shocking. And to see Hawaii without palms, tea leaf, I mean, this is a pants on fire moment. And so I would really urge the board to go ahead and authorize the commencement of rulemaking, the extension of whatever rule procedures are in place. But it's critical to address this now and completely. The Lolu palm isn't not just endangered, it's critically endangered. It's a critically endangered species. So there's just a moral, there's just a moral urgency here. And I really urge you all to, if you need to put a little extra effort in or cut some corners to get things put into place, please do so. We really urge you to do so, and very much appreciate your volunteer work and the work and we understand the lack of staffing and support, but whatever the community, whatever Sierra Club and other groups that are involved in this can do to help, we are here to help out. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you, Chuck. In the room?
Aloha kako. I'm Dr. Jonathan Price with the Department of Geography and Environmental Science at the University of Hawaii at Hilo. I really want to highlight the unique geography of our island because it is vast and it's very hard to make comparisons to a place like Guam or Oahu because of these vast areas of the island. And the petition, which I do support, is proposing these rules, which I understand are in process and need development, but nonetheless are reasonable, apply to 4% of the island's area. Vast areas of the island are quite far from this, at least now. even within that 4%, much of it is lava, much of it is dry grassland. Really, the efforts are focused upon a limited part of the island. And I understand this is a burden, this requires staff time and resources. The alternative, however, is to think about the remaining 96% of the island, which includes the vast majority of farmland in the state, vast majority of forest in the state, and of course, it comes down to a choice to invoke these efforts to contain this pest, which spreads largely through human agency, or to pursue the status quo, which is a choice. The status quo is a choice. And my fear is that that choice will cause the risk of this 96% of the island having to spend far more resources and far more effort to contain a pest that ultimately we will be stuck with forever. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Indrajit, I'll let you in. State your name.
Aloha, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Aloha, my name is Indrajit Gunasekara. I am testifying as the New Now. New Now is a community-based small organization that we worked safeguarding Hawaiian coconut diversity and recognizing the different varieties of ancient new. And our Hui works around Hawaii Island, especially in the district of Puna and the other areas as well, recognizing this coconut genetic diversity and connecting and finding all the different varieties. I mean, these are the work also should be had done like a decade ago, and that have yet not been recognized. Coconut, at least as the food source of Hawaii and its connection to the indigenous community as per the culture of food and the ecology. And in this type of scenario, we will strongly support to pass this petition. And my support is that, again, like Dr. Jonathan mentioned earlier, this is only a small area and you can still have the control over. And again, we're talking about the pesticides. Please go to Kauai and see the Kailua area and the failure of the pesticide, and it does not work. Trees are being injected. Coconut tree comes with the biological clock. You can see the time of injection and how it continues to get attacked by the CRB. And we support this position, and we strongly ask all of your board members to support this, to go through this as the way. I mean, we went through the same scenario when the petition came to support the Molokai. And is there why cannot we look this in the same way and to find a way that we can support and to restrain this material within this area that, again, if we look at in the scientifically, this is the first step to do is the quarantine or the restraining the area and identifying where the issue is, where the CRB is, and containing that material within that area and preventing them leaking to other areas. And thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to testify. Yeah, that's all I have to say today. Mahalo.
Thank you. Anyone in the room?
I have a question. Is that okay? I'm not allowed to ask anything.
It's usually testimony.
Only testimony.
You can talk to staff after.
After, thank you. Okay, so no one else in the room is going to testify. Moving to the online.
Okay, Lori, you can state your name and organization.
Hello. I hope you called me. This is Laurie Buchanan.
Yes.
Oh, mahalo. Thank you, Laurie Buchanan from the island of Molokai, testifying as a community member. I know I have like 3 minutes. I think I want to spend 2 minutes. Oh, Sharon. I think I want to spend most of that 2 minutes really thanking all of you, Honorable Chair Hurd, for your leadership of the Department of Ag and now Biosecurity. OMG, what a hard job. I wanted to thank your staff, Jonathan. Jonathan, I thought you are doing a great job at capturing all of the information because I know you work really hard. And I really love your staff recommendation summary, and I agree with that. I wanted to thank Jen because I hear Corp Counsel always saying getting back us on procedure, which I think is to deny so we can move to advisory, but I'm not sure. But thank you again for that. And then I wanted to thank every Board of Ag member that is here today, volunteering their time at each meeting to go over all these really complex ag issues throughout the state. You don't know how much I appreciate all of you and your wisdom and your empathy and compassion for ag throughout the state of Hawaii. Thank you so very much. I do support the request by petitioners. And living on Molokai, I had to go look up these petitioners, right? Because do they have the support, right? And these are very well and big organizations that have a lot of support on Mokuo Keawe. And sometimes we look at Mokuo Keawe and we go, oh man, poor thing, was cookie frogs. Then was fire ants. Then was myconia. And on, And sometimes people joke it's like the Florida of Hawaii because of the landscape industry. But my glass is always half full. And if my glass is not always half full, then I need to get one damn new job because it's so hard to keep a very positive frame of mind when you deal with about invasive species in the state of Hawaii. And especially from Honorable Chair Hurd's position, so difficult to balance in the environment, resource protection, and the commerce. And I understand all of that. But in the end, I'm always going to advocate for our resources, for Aina, natural resources, trying to preserve and keep intact our resources. And I really thank people like Indrajit who come and teach me and the future generations about our culture and how important new and other species was to us. And I want to say that there's a trend on Molokai right now. Everybody's planting new. And I think it's so cool because it was because of the interim that really spurred this movement. And I have school children coming up to me in workshops and going, oh, I know all about CRB. And we planted today, and that is so cool. And I
You
love
mind
it.
summarizing?
Yeah, thank you. See, 2 minutes. But again, a big mahalo to all the hard work that the Department of Ag and Biosecurity does and all the contributions by your civil service to the state of Hawaii board members. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to Lou Lambert.
Lou Lambert, you're on.
What do I do? Do I say something?
Yes, go
Ye-
ahead.
Yes. This is Kelly Greenwell in Kona. I would like to speak.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, I have a list of different thoughts that I'd like to bring up. First of all, the quarantine is going to be a very difficult situation because there are a whole lot of projects that are online that are being funded by big money from the mainland, et cetera. And they're all going to be needed to be landscaped, and they cannot be sold until that happens. That, of course, represents a huge economic shortfall that we're going to suffer here if we're not able to resolve this thing. My concern is the bug is here now, and maybe it's not too late to do the right thing, but I don't think the right thing is more rules. The right thing is to involve those of us that have operations here in the ag park and get us involved in the solution, at least get us involved in the methodology that's put in place in order to at least control this insect. We have, for instance, well, let's just say we should create a site here within the ag park so that everybody who has green waste can bring it to that location and it can be processed. We have the equipment here among us to help the county and or state or et cetera to process it properly. We have the wherewithal, we have the knowledge, and we are the ones most directly affected. Now, my concern is that we involve too much time thinking about the rules and regulations and not enough time about the procedures that need to be put in place. Now, we're not going to be able to get rid of green waste in any way other than to bring it all here and process it. There are a couple of vacant lots here, and there are people here who are already processing green waste at a very high commercial level, and that can continue.
They don't know where you are.
Okay, I'm told that you may not know where I am. I'm in the middle of the Keahole agricultural lot. My business is Hawaiian Gardens. I don't want to say that it's too late to control this insect, but I do think that there are things that we can do that certainly can mitigate the issue. I fully agree with the idea that we don't want to allow this thing, if we can, to spread much further than it is. And it may be that if we control it and look at this thing as more as an opportunity to be involved at the grower level with the solution rather than have more rules or whatever placed upon us that don't allow us to work. This is an issue, of course, that impacts the entire economic well-being of the state, and that's already been expressed, and that is an issue.
Thank you, Kelly. Do you mind summarizing?
Yeah, I think that's about it. I would like to see some meetings held here in Kona so that we could look at some of the procedures that we could put in place. And let's look at this thing maybe as the opportunity to promote agriculture here and get some real federal funding into this place so that we can really do this. Most of the time, these projects, if not all of the time, have failed. We don't want this to fail. What we want to do is we want to keep it under control. We want to use the proper insecticides. We want to use the proper methodology. And we want to recognize the fact that we can't just stop growing things and put restrictions on it, because that's the economic engine of Kona and of the state. Okay, thank you very much.
Here, here. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, next, Kaz DeMarco.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cass. Yeah.
Aloha. I want to thank, of course, all of you guys for all the work you're putting into this. And I'm thank you, Uncle Kelly, for your input. I'm with Uncle Kelly in this situation where we're in the middle of this in ground zero. My family has a new ag lot here in Keahole Park, and we have turned it around from it was desolate and dead, and we have put irrigation and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this place, and we have an operating nursery and farm. So we provide. It's a large mango farm as well. Our mangoes are the first ones into the markets, but a lot of people are expressing about our native palms. We planted Lolu palms last week, and as far as looking at this as an opportunity, instead of just regulating everything and trying to just quarantine and shut it all down, is what it feels like. I'm all for the planting of and growing of these. And I've got hundreds of palms here, Lolu palms, coconut palms, the whole gamut of palms. We've got thousands. And it's our job to provide these uh, for the community. And so for planting, to me, I feel like we just need to be doing more planting and growing, and the quarantine section of this, I think if we can put it in the hands of the guys here, we can put our heads together, our equipment together, our staff together. If we can get the federal funding, like Uncle Kelly's talking about, if we can be proactive with this here because it's affecting us the most. A lot of you guys are all over the islands. You haven't necessarily seen this place or been here. Yes, Kona is drier, and so there's the thought of, yeah, let's not let this escape to other places where it's wet, Um, but my concern is that we overregulate this to where it's not operational, where you're just shutting down businesses. And this business, we employ about a dozen people, and those all represent families here. And so we're a small mom and pop shop, but we're competing with the box stores, and a lot of the box stores is the same, the Home Depot and Lowe's, they are they're actually the most, what I want to say is those box stores, I'm friends with the managers there. They have reported that they are outperforming every other store in the state, is the ones here in Kona. A lot of what they're getting is from these farms here. My farm in particular, we don't provide to the box store because we're trying to provide local and keep it local. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for everything you're doing, but about 75% of our business is plants, well, it's palm trees really, and then plants as well. And then the mangoes is just keeps the water on because the water is
Thank you, Cass. If you could summarize.
yeah,
Thank you.
I just learned about this meeting yesterday. I understand that it's been taking a long time for you guys to get to this point, because I'm aware that the CRB was discovered back in March. So I am surprised that it's, taking a while. However, along with the sod farm down the road, the restriction of transportation is a concern. This broad blanket proposal that we have here is a little bit of a concern to me, what these regulations are going to be, and that people aren't aware and that they're going to get shut down in this area from doing any kind of business without even actually understanding what's happening. So we're aware of the CRB, but we'd like to be more involved. We'd like to be more included in how we can be a part of the solution, not just shut us down. I don't know
Thank
if
you, Cass.
that makes sense.
Calling upon Daniel Anthony.
Calling on Daniel Anthony, you're on.
Aloha, everybody. Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to talk about the battle going on with CRB. I want to add that the reality is that the current strategy hasn't been working, and that one of the most effective tools in defeating this beetle currently is a fungus known as Metarhizium anastopliae. And there is enough science and research to back up the use of this. Neither the Department of Ag nor any of the CRB response teams can recommend the use of this because it currently is not approved. But I want to just tell all the farmers and people watching this that you can purchase it on Amazon. And this fungus has been incredibly effective in lowering the numbers of actual beetles and larvae in mulch. And that the science is available to show that this is effective. What we need is we need the board to get a Section 18 exemption to use Metarhizium anastopliae immediately to battle this coconut rhinoceros beetle. There's a whole bunch of other tools and tips that can be done, but it will not be effective unless the community is involved. As one of the 8 original community groups to receive a small grant from the Department of Ag, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you that Jonathan Ho won't return my calls. There's never been a meeting from the Department of Ag bringing all of the 8 grantees together to talk about a unified community-based solution. Ultimately, in meetings, they have come and poisoned the community to believe that using these chemicals are the only way. They themselves have said that these poisons they're administering are only 30 to 45% effective. We are finding natural solutions to be equally or greater in their effectiveness and dollar for dollar, 100 times cheaper. But without the community to be able to apply these and participate, Hawaii Island is going to experience what every other island is experiencing, which is you feel like nobody's there to help you. The moment it gets to you, you call someone, the only solution that they have is poison. Nowhere else in the Pacific are they using poisons. This Metarhizium anastopliae is what they're using. So again, for all you farmers that feel like you're going to be impacted by this, that have CRB larvae, please go to Amazon and look up this fungus and go ahead and use it and apply it and test it for yourself. Sharon, you guys need to bring the community together more often. This has been a battle that it seems like the only time that you're willing to return a phone call or have a face-to-face is in front of the board, and this needs to end. Department of Ag, where is the cultural advisor, the full-time staff member that represents the culture? One of the biggest challenges that nobody wants to work for the Department of Ag is because there is no sustainable culture. If we want young people, especially local people, young Native Hawaiians to participate, we have to pioneer Aloha Aina as a practice in the Department of Ag, which means including that voice and perspective into decisions that are being made to manage our cultural resources.
Daniel, I wonder if you could summarize.
Thank you guys for your time. There is much work to be done. In the last 12 years, we have not been able to change the trajectory. I believe we will be able to do so the more community is included. Mahalo nui aloha.
Thank you, Daniel. I would like to ask Jonathan to comment on the particular fungus that was mentioned. Is that allowed into the state?
Yeah, so real quick, Jonathan Ho, Department of Agriculture, Plant Quarantine Branch Manager. Yeah, so Metarhizium is on the list of restricted microorganisms Part A. So it's only allowed for importation for research. Hence the fact that it is not registered for use. So obviously importation without a permit and registration obviously would lead to violations. Should it be done? As it relates to, I think Metarhizium in of itself, as it is a fungus, my understanding it is also quite broad. It is also quite broad in its host effectiveness. So it wouldn't necessarily be, I think, what most folks would consider a traditional biocontrol, and that anything that gets in contact with it would be potentially affected, depending on the strain. There has been, I think, some limited research into, another Metarhizium species, I think Metarhizium magis, that may also be effective against CRB. And I think it may be more potentially host specific. But again, as it relates to Anasopliae, for example, I think it is found in the state already. And again, obviously, maybe there's a delivery method that has yet to be discovered, but to the extent of Metarhizium being super effective, I'm not certain to speak to that. I haven't seen the research itself.
There is a path. You can get whoever wants to agree, you can get it registered through the path.
You would need to change the list placement and there's quite a bit of processes involved for at least for that particular species
I just
because
wanted to bring that to light, because this is public and.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, did I just find out? Let's keep going.
Okay, calling Keith Weiser.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'll try to be brief. I'm work with the CRB response, and I wanted to address particularly a few points about business concerns. And I hear nobody wants to be shut down by a quarantine. I think that the this rule, I'm less familiar with what's in the petition, but when this rule was implemented in 2022, I'd like to point out that there were no lawsuits against the Department of Agriculture for implementing the rule, and nobody was put out of business by this. So mainly it's a set of best management practices. And with it, and I'm confident that the Department of Agriculture can craft a rule that doesn't shut anybody down, but does provide some protection and slows the spread. And what the board would actually be voting on is the interim rule that requires the compliance agreement, but the compliance agreement itself can be modified if there are major errors that are leading to some either confusion or problems down the road. So the compliance agreement is a bit variable. The interim rule just requires that compliance agreement. And then through the inclusion of exemptions, waivers, and permits, if there are big problems with a rule that actually gets implemented, the department could pretty quickly issue some kind of exemption or permit in that situation if there was a big error made in the way that compliance agreement was drafted. So I don't think that, I hear from Southern Turf and Hawaiian Gardens and Kaz's business that, they really don't want to be put out of business. And I don't think that's either the intent of the petitioners, probably, I'm guessing. I haven't spoken to them directly. And that certainly was not the intent of the rule in 2022. And I think that can be preserved in a recent, in an updated version. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Aloha mai kako o lela ke aloha ko ino no iwi ko mo o Puna. My name is Leila ke aloha. I am from Puna. Just mahalo to each and every one of you today for enduring this process. I know it's been a long morning. I don't really want to restate what everyone else has said, but mahalo ke akua for allowing me this time to speak. I am the executive director of Pohaku Pelemaka, and I sit before you today along with generations of my kupuna. I was taught growing up to respect my elders, which I do. And so I also stand today with the thousands of kupuna niu that are found on our Puna coastline. We're one of the petitioners to slow and stop the spread of CRB on Hawaii Island. Pohaku Pelemaka stands in strong support for the preservation and protection of our ulu niu in Puna and across our Pai'aina. I listened to some of the testimony. This is not an attack against businesses. If you have not done so, please read the petition. And I think back to this process that we've been going through and waiting to hear what's going to happen to help support the slow and the spread to stop the spread of CRB. We've had how long? I'm a Niu practitioner and I come from generations of practitioners in Puna. Niu is a tree of life for us. We depend on it for many uses and especially for food, water, ceremony. Hana no ea, revere it as our kupuna. Our ohana also comes from a long line of hala practitioners, which the CRB is now attacking on Oahu, along with how many other plant species, up to 40, I believe. Pohaku Pelemaka currently stewards 12 acres of an ulu niu with over 1,600 coconut trees. This CRB and the ramifications of the CRB and the spread on our island is devastating. And it can be extremely devastating to our food security. It is imperative that the Department of Agriculture approve the interim rule being presented today. I understand that you can't make that decision today, and I really appreciate you all volunteering your time to do this work. My one question is, Why haven't we done something already? We've known about this. It is the kuleana of the Department of and Board of Agriculture to ensure that we strengthen our food self-sufficiency and protect our vital agricultural resources, focusing on managing natural resources and preventing the introduction of harmful pests and disease. So my question is, why haven't we addressed the situation yet? And if this is the kuleana of the department and the board, how did CRB make it to our island? Because obviously we knew it was an issue on Oahu and it's huge. It is depleting our food resource, our full food security. This is an emergency situation. It is a direct attack on our inalienable rights and customary practices of Kanaka Maoli and our kupuna. Not taking action on this is a direct attack on ensuring the protection and preservation of our native ecosystems. These impacts of CRB on our food systems, our food security, and our cultural practices and livelihood are compromised. It is my kuleana to protect our niu and our other resources now for the generations to come. We need to be proactive in our biosecurity measures, and we haven't done it. And I apologize for my tone, but we've been waiting for over 2 years to see something happen. We could have stopped this from happening to where it's at today, from the first detections back in April of 2023. I remember hearing it and going, oh my God, no ways.
Leila, do you mind summarizing?
Yes, I want to mahalo the Hawaii Wildlife Fund for being the co-petitioners and for all the work that's gone into this petition, and all the others that have spent months and working on this process. Please know to those that are in the ag park area, this is not a direct attack on you folks. This is to put in best management practices to help slow the spread of the CRB. And once again, I want to thank you all for your time today and for all those that are in support of this petition. Eola ka honua. Mahalo.
Jason, may I ask how many more are on the? 4, okay. Board, we're gonna take the next 4, if that's okay? Okay, rather than take a break. Okay.
Kabehi Young.
Aloha, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Aloha, Chair, Hurd, and members of the board. My name is Kavehi Young. I coordinate the outreach and training programs at the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. And with the support of both CRB Response and C.F.R, we were able to pull together a robust training program for resorts, landscapers, and maintenance staff in the Kona area within just 1 month of detecting CRB. So that was back in April. And we've done 17 trainings of these sort of technical trainings in 2025 alone. And we offered to be included in this petition as trainers, not because we wanted to be the sole organization doing the training, but because we know that DAB has they've expressed the need for support on that end, and we know that they have those limitations, and so we want to support them because we know that this is something that our community needs, and this is what the public has been asking for. And in fact, one of those trainings that we did actually led to a detection of CRB at the Kona Village Resort. So we were actually able to trace mulch that was sourced from the Keauhole Ag Park. And so we know that these trainings are working, and we're teaching staff what to look for, how to do these best management practices, because it's not just for the business, right? It's for all of us. And I guess that's all I have. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you.
Okay, Stephanie.
Aloha, Chair and members of the Board of Agriculture. My name is Stephanie Easley with CGAPS. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. It is my understanding that this is a petition to initiate the rulemaking process. Reading the petition, it says it's made, this is a little technical, but it says it's made under section 4123, which is initiating the process. I don't think there's any any idea that this petition would just be accepted today. Any petition would initiate the process, and we hope that's what you will do. The process would be to send the petition to the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals. That would be another public hearing, and then it would come back to you. So, we urge you to start the process. It has been, 10 months since the infestation that has had so many resources poured into its control has been detected, and nothing has been initiated. So like we have something here. Reading the submittal, I was truly delighted by how close PQB and the petitioners are. The petitioners submitted a response to all the items in the petition, and some of them were like, well, put an or at the end of the sentence. A lot of these are just issues around the edges that I think could be resolved. PQB says in the submittal, they agree with the permit and compliance agreement structure. But we have something that could work. And it is definitely not a quarantine. It is a set of best management practices. The staff of a business, which would be the one regulated by the compliance agreement, gets a training. And then that trained staff of the business inspects their own items. So, this isn't a quarantine. This isn't shutting people down. This is just some steps to try to prevent the human-assisted spread of CRB. Because now there's nothing. That material is just sold. No one is looking at, there's no requirement to look at it. And we have examples, as were just raised, of it going other places and spreading CRB. To fight CRB, we need to do two things. Or to control CRB, we need to do two things. We have to fight the infestation in West Hawaii Island, and that fight is huge with many partners, tons of resources, tons of green waste treated, thousands of trees treated, hundreds of traps. That's the fight. And then there's the protection. We have to protect these other businesses and other areas that are not yet impacted, and only DAB can do that protection. The county has done its best with the voluntary order, but only DAB and this board has the authority to do the protection. So it's the fight and the protection. And if we just do the fight without the protection, it's what we tried on Oahu, it's what we tried on Kauai, and it was not effective. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration. I know this is a very long meeting. Mahalo.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, calling upon Chair Rojas.
Hey, Tara.
Wait a moment, my mom's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. I just want to say I support this item. And what I wanted to bring, as other people have mentioned, is that it's time of the essence, reiterate, time of the essence. And if you think back from 2013, when it was first detected, to now, 13 years later, 2026, guess where I found this? It was in a meeting minutes of the Ewa Beach Neighborhood Board meeting. Again, here on Oahu, it was mentioned the concern regarding the CRB. Now, I did miss a whole chunk of testimonies, but I did get to hear the beginning and the importance again of doing something. Because again, 13 years had passed. Can you imagine if things would have been done then? Now, 2023, Kona, when it was first, or Waikoloa, when it was first detected, that is now two going on 3 years. How fast time has flown, and seeing that the destruction and the havoc it's causing now. And I did learn from the first testimonies about how the area of Kona, it's really difficult for the CRB to travel. Thus, it was spread through not natural, right, means, but through human, yeah, us traveling from or carrying it from one to another. So again, just reiterating that right now, this meeting is going to make history, as other people have testified. What you choose to do now is going to be the future. So even before and by your next meeting, right, March, April, May, June, or how often you meet, that's how much more time will have passed and what has been done. And yeah, I just think, I know everybody have covered everything else, but I just strongly support this. Time is of the essence. We have to stop this because we know it doesn't just affect new, it affects many other plants and crops that we use for food and for other resources. So mahalo nui, and mahalo for waiting.
Hey, thanks, Tara.
And last one we have is the Honolulu initiative.
Aloha, this is Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Burns. I work at Anaho'o Kupu o Kilauea up on Kauai and with a bunch of other nonprofits around here that are attempting to track and mitigate CRB. I'd just like to state that I support this petition. I think there's ample evidence that the movement of materials transfers insect pests around rapidly, whether it's fire ants or coffee borers or thrips or what have you. CRB does not care what our institutional or organizational or economic or regulatory boundaries are, but it definitely makes use of time. So I think the goal here is to slow the spread as much as possible and buy time for other mitigation measures to be developed, whether it's biosecurity or something else, and reduce the logistics of the ultimate deployment of those measures, and protect as many of the coconuts and other crops that we have. Let's not let perfection be the enemy of taking some beneficial action here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else online? We see none. Moving to board discussion, should we ask for a break or we can go on? Okay, we'll just go on. Board discussion. Ann. Go ahead, Ann.
Sorry, Chair, procedural question. Can we just clarify what we're voting on?
Right now, you might have to, it was just a motion to approve, so I think you're gonna have to remake the motion, since technically motion to approve does mean, like, it seems to be that you're approving the petition, just by the way it's written in the agenda.
Yeah, okay. It seems that way. Okay, and I know that, we have a specific violation given that the finding wasn't issued. And then, just a comment for everybody. Thank you guys for your testimony. I mean, you guys were all waiting as long as we were. And we need to hear from you, to kind of understand the ins and outs, right? I will say that, look, I'm from Kona. I went to go visit my dad over Christmas, and, the coconut trees that were planted when me and my sister were born are dead. And I don't know why, but I can't rule out CRB. So, this kind of stuff is near and dear to me from a personal level. And I will also say that, as a representative of Kamehameha Schools, that's all our gang, right down there, the Hualalais and the Keohos and all that surrounding Keohole and all that surrounding area. So, I will say that I do agree with a number of the testifiers that the only way that this is going to get done is really as a community. I know you guys are waiting for us to put some structure in place, but the structure is only going to be as good as the participation. Yeah, so I know there was some commentary on, we can't do Department of Ag's job for them, and I apologize that our part of the intervention has taken this long. But I will also say that once this is in place, we are going to rely on each and every one of you, because being from the Big Island, when I used to go sleep at night when I was a kid, it was silent. There was no coqui frogs. There are no, I mean, you name it in terms of the invasive species that have spread there, and a lot of that is because some people participate and some do not. So as a representative of the board and as a representative of KS, I'm personally willing to work with you folks in the area to make sure that we get a coalition together that can actually be effective.
Thank you, Ed. Any other? David?
Yeah, I just think time's of the essence. I support the approval for the petition. I think we need to move. But I think a lot of the details, like I understand the industry has issues, right? But I think we can work through that in the rulemaking process because there's going to be, public opportunity for the public to participate in that. And so, being, saying it didn't work elsewhere, well, like somebody said, it's a whole system. It's not just because a rule was made and it spread meant that the rule was a failure. So anyway, I really think this is like absolutely kind of the essence. Like it's absolutely critical, and we cannot delay. We need to move forward on this. And I think a lot of the, we're sort of building the plane as we fly it, but we got to go. We cannot wait. We've already waited way too long. It's absolutely critical, or we are going to lose this on the Big Island, guaranteed. And so just kind passion plea to move forward on this, and we can work out the details as we go. But I don't think there's going to be other opportunities to testify and public testimony opportunities and whatnot, input, whatnot. But we really, really need to move on this.
Thank you, Dave. Any other board discussion? Okay, seeing none. I'd like to restate the vote. What we're voting on?
Oh, I forgot. Who made the motion?
The motion was made by was either Diane. Well, there's Diane.
It's either.
So real quick, to kind of bounce off of what Stephanie Easley had stated, right? The request is for review and approval,
Okay,
right?
just clarify.
To initiate administrative rulemaking, right? So what I've asked is, right, to deny the formal petition, but to initiate rulemaking. So that's the approval, right? So because that's essentially what the board is doing. So does that speed it up? I think to the extent of just getting it done.
Okay.
Without having to rechange it.
Restating.
I mean, maybe
I see.
right. So
request for review and approval of the petition from Megan.
To initiate rulemaking, right?
That is really confusing.
Yes, okay, well, sorry, that's me, but I think to the extent, I think, right,
Okay, so-
right, the
okay, I think-
initiation is the start.
Okay, if
And then-
Diane, then you understand, it's a request for review and approval of the petition to initiate rulemaking. To implement interim rule, not approval of the petition to adopt the interim rules.
Yeah, the petition is,
That is- okay.
sorry. The initiate.
Yeah, that was my question for Jonathan is, are the proposed rules, is started a framework for what we can work with?
Yes.
And then that process needs doing, taking out of from context of the testimony and
You guys can also
also,
give a deadline.
yeah.
You can also give a deadline, like next month's meeting, if you want.
Yeah. So, and process wise, including what I heard from testifiers as well as from PQ staff was the need to work with the county, in particular solid waste, State Department of Health. That may include the mayor's office, backtracking to the county mayor's office, and industry, the businesses, as well as the ISKs and other stakeholders that are, advocates for pushing this forward. I think this is really helpful, but, I think it's got to go back to that community has to be broadened. It has to be government and the nonprofits, the advocates and the businesses together. And then the compliance agreements can be worked on subsequent to the rulemaking. And again, that's where really the rubber hits the road with DOH, DOA, the ISK, and the industry. And then a need
Okay.
for public education. Yeah. So, yeah. And then the other piece that needs to be really addressed is as people brought up, why hasn't DAB done this already? Staffing. And if it's not staffing, what's the creative model to get us to working with, in cooperation with others? And how do we pay for that? Do we have the resources that can be targeted for that if we don't have the staffing?
Diane, the staffing issue is an issue. However, Act 231 in 2024, and Act 236 in this past year did provide staffing. I can't tell you how many emails I get from Jonathan at 2 a.m. showing that he's finally, quote unquote, completed the PDs that are required to even establish the positions. We're working on it. It's not like, why is DAP taking so long? No excuses. We're taking so long because that's how long it takes.
And all our stakeholders need to understand that there's a process to hiring. There's a process to getting the money and the approval of positions and hiring. And there's got to be people willing to do the work in the community. They've got to step forward, or we've got to figure out other processes to where other entities, whether it's the ISC or C.F.R. staff, can support the county. What is that? So anyway, it's a huge job. So.
And it is going to take all of us, all the partners. But I want to use this opportunity to say, come work for DAP. You should read some of these PDs that Jonathan put together. It's genius work. It's one position for military cooperation.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt. In the invasive species update, I'm actually gonna talk about it. So I think we can, I can just get it out real fast. I can just spit it out real fast.
So any more discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that the request is to approve the petition.
No, review and approval of the
To
petition.
initiate administrative rulemaking. It's not to approve a rule. The request is to approve the petition to initiate administrative rulemaking. That's what we want to do.
Right, yeah,
Right. To implement an interim rule. It's not approving the rule. It's just approving a petition to initiate and start moving through the process. I think we should do that right now. We shouldn't wait for some other day when we have more staff or, blah, blah, blah. We just need to move forward on it.
We're not disagreeing with you, David. It is time for the board to vote.
I think the thing is
Well, you were asking for board, we're in board discussion, is actually.
That's right. But
So,
there was no
give you my
further
answer.
oh, wait a minute. You make, I see Jason's hand up now.
Question I have is, this interim rule, is there a deadline on how long it takes to put it in place?
We can set a deadline.
there isn't in the motion right now. No.
Yeah, I think there should be a deadline.
So we can amend the motion to include a deadline. To David's point, it is a request for review and approval to initiate administrative rulemaking, and then we can say by.
Well, to initiate and to return to the board, right?
And return to the.
Because you don't tell them to initiate. Because if you say by 1 month, they could initiate it.
You're right. That's right. Okay. So it's to initiate the rulemaking to implement an interim rule pursuant to, and bring back to the board by.
Yeah, so okay, Diane make the motion or. Hold the date, okay, Dave, if you want to set a deadline, like come back to the board in February meeting or in the March meeting or something, you can do that.
Want to get an idea what Jonathan's idea of a reasonable deadline is. How much time it needs to get an interim rule in place.
March
Okay.
meeting.
Only
And then
because,
one more comment, and I made this comment already, but I don't know if it was understood, but I mean, the staff that Jonathan has to work with on the Big Island is ridiculous. Small. And I don't see how you're going to get on top of this unless you put some sort of multi-agency incident command system in place where he has more people to pull from. more agencies to pull from. So that's a comment, but I think DAB got to be the one to take the leadership on that.
Thank you. Okay. I think if with no further board discussion, we need to change the.
Just clarify the motion.
Please
Since
clarify.
David made it. Yes.
So when it says to initiate administrative rulemaking, and then you say come back in March, like, what's the alternative? If you don't put a date, they can just come back whenever they want.
They'll come back after that's all done and we don't know how long that will take. This way he could rush the committee to
Okay.
meet. Because we can't, it's hard to control the committee of all of this, I think.
Okay.
So then he'll tell them, hey, we have to go back to before the board by March, so if you don't meet right away, we can't do that. And the board's gonna be unhappy.
Yeah.
So you okay with that being your motion?
Yeah, so it would be approval of the petition to initiate administrative rulemaking and to return to the board in March.
The March meeting.
March meeting.
See. I was looking that up, while you were. Fourth Tuesday is 1, 2, 3, March 24th. Thank you, Marcy. March 24th. So that's the motion. Thank you, David. To review, request for review and approval to initiate administrative rulemaking and back to the board by the March 24th meeting.
Who was the second?
Who was the second on that, Marcy?
Was it, Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Jimmy, you okay with that, to second that?
Absolutely. I'm still on the same wavelength when I first started.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jimmy. All right, calling for the vote. Any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none, the motion is approved unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to update, our monthly update from Plant 13. I think it's.
Yeah, so real quick, just a update, again, based on the agenda, no question and answer. So just real quick, I'll be focusing mostly, I guess, on positions, and then some activities are happening. I'll start with so Dr. Kim, who was the Plant Industry Division Administrator, unfortunately resigned on the 31st December. Deputy Dean Matsukawa is acting as the Plant Industry Administrator. While we work on while the department works on recruiting a new administrator. For recruitment, the department has been working, the department HR and DHERD have been working very diligently to fill more positions. So the Hawaii District, Oahu and Airport supervisors were all filled this month, all started on January 5th. That's Christine Yamamoto on Hawaii Island, Kalani Watson at Oahu Airport, and then Jennifer Kobayashi for Oahu Maritime. This week, we're going to be doing interviews for the plant specialist and intake specialist. As stated at the November meeting, there was an IVA for the internal vacancy announcement for the land vertebrate specialist position. There were an applicant, so we reran it. It closed last week, so we're going to be working with HR to review the applicants and then schedule interviews for that position. We're finalizing interviews for a new administrative specialist position within PQ. We were able to hire, since the last board meeting in November, where we talked about this, 2 more inspectors on Maui and 2 more on Oahu. And then through Operation Hawaii, we have open positions on Maui, Kona, Hilo, and Oahu in recruitment. To reiterate what Chair Hurd had said, people want to work for the department. There are jobs available. We just finalized the working supervisor positions on Oahu. There's 3 of them. The IVA should be coming out this week. Hopefully we'll fill those before the next board meeting. And then as Chair Hurd had said, we created some new positions that were created through Act 231 for new programmatic units within plant quarantine for export certification, investigation, compliance, military, and then rapid response. And obviously that includes a reorg of the existing structure. For the plant pest control branch, 3 longstanding vacancies have been filled by Dr. Lau. He's the current PPC manager. The most recent, I've talked about the 2 other ones, Tobias Lehman for the insectary entomologist, and then Cameron Fujimoto as the chemical mechanical section chief. He just recently hired Raina Tong as the state taxonomist. There's recruitment for the Oahu and Hawaii Island noxious weed specialists. Dr. Lau has adjusted the minimum qualifications to increase the applicant pool, which was something that was also done with the biosecurity inspector positions for plant quarantine. There's a Ojai recruitment for PCTs, so pest control technicians in both Hilo and Kauai. And Dr. Lau is also working with HR to finalize an environmental health specialist position, an administrative specialist, and a plant pathologist, so that recruitment can occur. The pesticides branch also opened 8 internal vacancy announcements for various environmental health specialist positions across the state. Once that term goes, they will be placed on Operation Hawaii for external recruitment. They did do an interview, and there is 1 candidate was selected, and they're working to finalize that. Just I think to note for the, I think recruitment for the department as a priority. There's a number of positions that are also still on Ojai. Folks want to go and they can go look. There's a measurement standards inspectors, a loan officer, marketing specialists, veterinary medical officer, and then Dr. Moniz's old position, the veterinary program manager. Those are there. The department has been working with DHERD and LCC on a biosecurity academy. This was something that was kind of utilized in New Zealand, so we're trying to adapt that for use here. So the goal is to create a pathway through LCC to have folks basically go through an academy to become to enter into the workforce for biosecurity, whether it be for plant quarantine, plant pest control, or the Division of Animal Industry. The goal is to create something similar to what DoCare did for their officers, so that you get the folks in, they get trained like on the job, and then they kind of do their probation throughout that, and if they pass, they stay, and if they don't, we release them, something along those lines. Yeah, and again, we're working with DHERD and LCC to kind of manage the job requirements for the positions that are going to be eligible for this, and then to establish the curriculum so that we can utilize that to fill a lot of the vacancies that we have. And then I'll just finalize with Christmas trees. Obviously, it's obviously Christmas is over, but our Christmas tree agreement, which has been through the Oregon and Washington Department of Agriculture, still maintained. So that was done in 2012. And at that time, 71 out of 240 containers were, rejected or required retreatment. That was about 61% compliance. Last year, there were 120 containers that were imported, about little under 59,000 trees. And then 4 containers were treated for either slug or yellow jacket. So there was about 96.7% compliance. And in the prior 3 calendar years, were essentially like 99.9% compliant. There were 3 containers that were held up out of like almost 400 total. Thank you.
So are we doing anything to increase the compliance?
So I guess as it relates to Christmas trees, it basically, because the program's been in effect with Oregon and Washington over the last decade or so, both of us have figured out ways to get compliance rates up. So, and obviously trying to do that more for other commodities.
And thanks for mentioning the Biosecurity Academy, which has to go through a number of approvals, but we're going as fast as the process will allow, and we hope to have this done soon as a pilot program. Those of you representing the neighbor islands should know that it's starting on Oahu, but it will be rolled out after that to the other community colleges in your community. So thank you, Jonathan. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Jeremy.
Was there public testimony?
Oh, was there public?
Oh, yeah, technically there is.
Does anybody have public?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna blame somebody for this.
No, we're at the tail end.
Yeah.
Any public testimony in response to Jonathan's update?
Okay, no. Sorry.
No, okay, thank you then. Moving to adjournment, they have a motion.
So move, Jimmy.
Jeremy, thank you. Second. Thank you, Diane. Moved and seconded to adjourn. Next meeting is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. 9 a.m. We'll see you then, gang. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 1:01.